YouTube, Brian Phillips. We've got a box right here, and it's kind of a big one. We're gonna open it right now for your viewing pleasure. Thanks for being with us here on Brian Phillips RC. Obviously, we unbox things, radio setup, build all that good stuff, and we're gonna do it right now for this amazing new product. Ooh, that looks pretty exciting. All right, guys, this box is a little bit unusual looking, and I'm sure you already know because you've seen the thumbnail, but we are just seeing it for the first time and super excited for this one but I don't know how to open the box, so bear with me. This is a different package. Like, we haven't ever seen this packaging from this particular brand. And so we're wondering if it came from a different factory or something. Ooh, that looks good too. All right, I'm just gonna push it out to you. You ready?
Okay.
Okay, here goes nothing. Oh yeah! It's the Hangar 9 PT-19. Super excited for this one. I love the PT-17, and I think this is gonna be awesome. So super excited to be bringing you this product today. And obviously we have done a lot of planes, but Hangar 9 is a brand we haven't done a lot with. And so we're super excited to be bringing you this one today. We did do a fun scale P40, which was P47, which was real similar. And they are claiming this is a skill level 3. So I think the reason that they call it a skill level 3 experience required is because this is a plug and fly, but it's more of like a hybrid ARF plug and fly. So there's a little bit more work to be done. It's definitely going to be one where you want to make sure you get your throw set correct. And of course, it's got all the smart ESC motors and all that good jazz. I'm trying to figure out if it's taped. Is it taped here?
I can't see.
Having a hard time getting the box lid from slipping off here.
It does say no glue required, which is
That's always nice.
Always
yeah, for an ARF style.
Gluing. Yes.
But that was true from the P40, I think, too. P47.
I think so. I think it's just been other brands where then sometimes you have a ton of gluing that's required.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just having trouble getting the lip released.
It's just really tight, yeah.
It just happens to be tight, and that's usually generally a good thing, good rule of thumb. Tight equals good. So anyway, we're just gonna pop this out here if I can get it going.
Extra set of hands.
My goodness gracious. Yeah, it's just an awkward lift because normally these things just slip right off, but mine is not slipping off. Okay, so evidently they don't want us to open this very much because it's like extremely hard to get around the edge. So I'm just gonna cut the edges. Probably the hardest time we've had slipping one of these out ever, but that's okay. That's not gonna speak to the quality of the plane. We're super excited for this. Hangar 9 makes a really nice plane, and so we're super, super excited to see it in the air. I can't wait actually, and we actually have decent weather today, but I'm still a little bit weary because we happen to have family plans today in celebration of my oldness. Oh, and then there's also that thing outside. We should probably show them that as a show.
Are we showing them that?
Are we gonna show them that? Let's not show them. Let's make them wait, because it's kind of exciting stuff.
They already saw it in the maiden.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, guys, so this packaging is like what we saw with the P47. Looks like it's packaged very high quality. Of course, this is the balsa wood model, folks. So it's not a foamy. There are gonna be lots of different materials in this construction, but just to be clear, this is definitely not gonna be a foamy. And so I think that's the other reason why they call this a some experience required, like level 3 skill level. And the reason that I think they say that is just for the simple fact that when you're flying a balsa wood plane, while you can fix them to 100%, it definitely takes more to fix them. So, and the other thing too is the media of balsa, if you ask me, is just, it's almost like a lost art right now. And so the old timers in this sport hate the fact that it's becoming a dying art. And us young guys that are doing it and just really loving foam airplanes, we're getting newer and better and more exciting technology, but they feel like, you know, we want to keep this technology around. And I don't blame them for being upset because it is a super cool thing. And by the way, these planes last longer, and we've mentioned that before because they don't get things like hanger rash as easy, but that's not to mean they won't get damaged when you drag a wingtip. We've done it too with our P47, in fact. Okay, so Hangar 9, beautiful manual, super good quality information. This one looks like it was laid out in their new fresh pictures, which is kind of nice. I really wish they would have sprung for color pictures on this caliber of plane, but whatever. I'll forgive them for that because it's gonna be a sweet plane. And look at the decal sheet. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a bunch of 4s. And then gas, probably fuel fill spouts. So that should be a pretty easy part. And they're definitely decals, they're not water decals. Okay, so just gonna untape things as we go. And to be honest, we may be so limited on time today, we may not even be able to get this thing built in this.
Unbox it. And
yeah, I might unbox it now. Yeah. And you guys won't know any better, but we will. Of course, my soul will be crying inside if I have to stop early. Okay, so the horizontal stab is obviously pretty big size.
I like the yellow.
Love yellow. Yellow planes like pop in the sky. Yellow and blue, no less. It's gonna be gorgeous.
That's a good dark blue too.
I know, I like that. Not a light blue, it's a dark blue. Although, I don't know, it's funny. I think I've got this predisposition to darker colors. Okay, so that protects the control horn. We don't have to put the control horn on. That is so nice. I just realized that. Guys, I hate putting control horns on, and look how nice that is. Cool. Reinforced hinges here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pinch hinge. Good lordy lord. That's a lot of pinch hinge going on.
I'm glad we didn't have to put those all in.
Yeah, no kidding, because that, you know, to be honest with you, and I'm keeping these things because we recycle our plastic. I know it's kind of lame, but whatever. I can't get this on tape, so I'm gonna cut it. You wanna show the people what I'm struggling with? So as you can see, these boxes are all in here. Little boxes help separate the one box from the other box. But just in looking at this, hey, guess what? We don't have to do on this either. Oh, I'm so happy. It's such a minor thing. It's so minor, and yet it adds up to so much struggle for people that aren't very good at this stuff, being patient, namely. Nice. Yes, we don't have to do any of that crap. That's so awesome. So great. We may have to undo this, I wonder, just to get it on. And look how thick the base of that is. Guys, that is so great. And then look, we've got up. Yeah, that's right. Look at how perfect this is. The red actually underlaps. Beautiful. And then of course we've got the control horn and the horn protection, which is really nice. So horizontal stab. By the way, I just want you guys to take note of something. If you're building this, okay, and you've done it, if you've ever built a balsa wood plane, look how flat that is. It is perfect. Yeah. There is zero apprehension to being square and flat. This is perfectly flat. And that is hard to accomplish because you are stretching this film, and it's like, this is very light, okay? But it's also quite strong. And I'm not gonna break it for you, but I just want you guys to see this, okay? Now I'm not gonna break it because I could break it, but you see what I'm doing? I have strong grip, and that thing is sturdy, which is super nice. I love that on a horizontal and vertical stab. Now this one here, just so you guys can see, that's a solid piece of wood, okay? Now, it may be balsa wood. Yeah, it's definitely balsa wood. I don't think it's plywood, but I love that it's super sturdy. Okay, cool. Continuing onward. So basically the gist of my commentary is like, this thing feels solid. And honestly, it ought to be. It's not a cheap plane. And that's one of the things that might stop some of you guys from considering a plane like this. But I gotta say, the high quality planes that we've done in the past, guess what? They're still here today. They're good planes. And that's not to say anything wrong with foam. I love foam planes. We continue to review foam planes. We have literally hundreds of them, and I love them all day long. But the thing is, you have to admit these things have the staying power when a foam plane won't, okay? Now, that is provided it flies good. And that's one of the big factors you may need to consider if you guys are new in the hobby and you're like, I want that because I want the longevity. Okay, congratulations, I know you do. But just keep in mind, this is, wow, that's so light. I love that it's so light. Check this out. Okay, look at that servo. Wow. It's an what is that, a 30, A391. That is a big servo. Good. I don't have to put that in. I know. It's so great. Full length aileron. Okay, so now, as you guys know, I am a big proponent of flaps. By the way, I love that sound. It's like a drum. Okay, show the people. As we take this off, oh, that is so gorgeous. I don't even need to collect the clevis. That is awesome. Show them down the wing. And I gotta say, this is a really nice finish because this finish is not only strong, the tape is sticking to me, Not only is it strong, but look at the lack of flex. This thing is solid. Feel how heavy it is. It's like nothing.
Oh, wow.
I love it.
I know. It's always amazing.
So we're gonna continue onward.
I'm just super excited about all of these things being installed.
I know, actually, I'm super excited about it too. And the camera crew and I have struggled through. There's one particular brand that we worked with and have pretty much stopped working with exclusively because they just suck so bad. And actually the distributors that worked with this particular brand were good. They were fair to us. They understood we weren't upset with them, but the product quality was so bad that we kind of stopped doing it, and they package things a lot like this. But you'll note that nothing is broken, nothing is dinged. Everything looks totally solid. By the way, there's a little bit of a wave in my aileron here.
Just a little bit.
But it's super small. And keep in mind, wood is a natural thing. It might actually have a little wave in it. And so that's why this is all the more exciting to see just how tight they got all this stuff. Now, I am kind of thinking about this like, oh, this has fixed gear too. Oh, I was thinking they had retracts on this, but there aren't retracts.
Oh.
So that makes it even simpler because I don't think they would have had retracts on this in real life. So, but there's kind of what looks like a pocket there where you could almost receive retracts, which is kind of showing what I'm talking about. No, back there by the servo, there's a big opening.
Oh.
Oh no, that's just because there's ribs and they have filled in this rib location here, and then they have absent here, here. Would have been absent here, but they have a backer for the servo and then absent.
Yeah, and then wood here.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so now continuing on. So if you've never done a Hangar 9 plane, this might be a good representation for what's to come from Hangar 9, because honestly, like, this is not the way ARFs come out of the box.
No.
ARFs come out of the box in many nut sacks and bolt sacks.
Yes.
Evidently the cat was concerned about something happening.
You scared her.
Did I?
By being in the room.
Oh, is that what I did? Okay. So as you can see, and if you're not a big fan of foam packaging, then these will be your favorite planes ever. Now I just want to show you how they package this. Now keep in mind, I've pulled some of this up. But just keep in mind, look how nice this is. They've got a solid, heavy-duty box supporting the nose, not broken, which is nice. They have it taped to support. So then this whole assembly, oh yeah, I gotta see the cowl. We'll come back to how that's taped in a minute. This looks so good.
I feel like if you're wanting to get into balsa, this
would be
seems
a good,
way less intimidating than some other things that we've done.
Yeah, but some people love the process of building. And if you do, we don't mean to poo-poo that at all. It's just really, really hard for us to do. Look how perfect the lines are.
Pretty.
That is gorgeous. It's flat, and then this blue pops.
Black,
it's so nice looking. And then look, fiberglass, super awesome. I love the way it looks.
Did you smell it?
No, I didn't smell. I mean, it's kind of a good idea though. Okay, so guys, look. So now what I can do is, I think what I'm gonna do is I'll untape here by cutting. Some of these processes you see on Brian Phillips RC are just, somewhat common sense. And then sometimes they're like, hey, I've been in the hobby long enough to have figured out a couple of tricks. But there's a lot of you, especially the people that be interested in this particular model, may have been in the hobby significantly longer than us, so we don't mean to insult anybody's intelligence. We understand that we are still relatively new. I'm trying to do this slow because I hear a nut and bolt sack in there. That's why I'm trying to be careful. Okay.
Wait, there's something taped to the end of the box on the inside. Is it just foam packaging, or was there something in there?
Nope, just foam.
Okay, good.
Just foam. Okay.
I just saw white.
So part of the reason that we do these videos with the Unbox is because, what is with the foam?
It's like so staticky.
Well, I don't get it. I don't know. It's weird. But part of the reason we do all this is because we want to teach you guys how we do it from start to finish, largely because I can't literally remember everything we've done. Oh, that's kind of a scary noise. Oh, it's just stuff. Just stuff. Okay. Oh, that feels so nice. Oh my goodness.
The pilot's installed.
Look how good it is too. It's super clean. This is what I don't feel like we got on that B40.
I mean, we don't have to
B47.
glue plastic onto the canopy.
We did have to do that. That was terrible.
Was that on that one?
No.
Done them on. No, it's been
I
on.
don't think we did that. But I just, okay, so we have to connect that control horn. But all we're doing is connecting the
right,
horn.
it's already on. Yeah, you just have to.
But just look how, that thing is a monster.
Buckets.
And by the way, look, not broken off.
No.
That's always nice. Oh, we got to get this thing out of the box. We got to, sorry, the money shot's coming later, guys. You have to wait. But part of the reason we do these Unbox build radio setups is not just, you know, to waste our time. We do it because we know that you guys need to see, hey, is this thing gonna survive getting to me? Because my UPS driver, it probably needs to go to jail for a little bit to get straightened out, or my FedEx driver or whatever it is. Okay, so inside of this package, there's some goods. I found the nut sack, nut and bolt sack. Okay, we've got a nose cone. Excuse me, not a nose cone, but a spinner adapter, feel that.
Ooh.
Amazing. Okay, then we've got, that is a small nut sack and bolt sack.
Small nut sacks.
That's right. It's the way we do it here on Brian Phillips RC. We want to give you guys a represent, wow.
Holy, that is not
hold
small.
on, feel it. That's heavy too. Watch this.
Thick.
Wow, is that metal?
No.
That is metal. That is metal.
It is.
That is not carbon fiber. What the heck? That is so weird. Okay,
I
so
wonder
that's
if they needed weight.
wing joint. Yeah, probably Ford of CG. Okay, that's amazing. Okay, so we got a bunch of Velcro. Looks like some tie points.
Okay.
Guys, a lot more impressed with this kit than I was with the last one, just for a variety of factors. But look at this. Got a piece of balsa wood mounted to a piece of foam
to protect
to reinforce the box. So the foam to protect the foam from the foam. Today we've got balsa wood to protect the foam from the balsa wood to protect the plastic from the balsa wood.
Oh, well, you're not totally rock hard.
What are these? Oh,
what are those?
Landing gear. Those are landing gear. I don't know if they're called pants. It's like on the bogey portion. Just, okay.
Close
So there's landing gear. Okay, so there's nothing in there. Show them inside.
Okay, empty. Good.
Okay, so like I was saying earlier, one of the biggest reasons we do all this is because there is a lot to consider with a model like this. Okay, so this prop is, if you could just go ahead and, if you want to just read that for me right there.
14 by, okay.
It says propeller installation and warning, exclamation point. Thank you for choosing the propeller produced by our company. our company.
Good, yeah.
It's like, they're obviously working on their branding still these days. Okay, so we have a wooden prop.
I love wood props.
Absolutely gorgeous. That'd be a 14.85.
I said 14.
See, you're getting good at measuring things that are 14 inches long. So then this is a 12.6E, okay? So now you can do either size. Now I believe kind of the general rule of thumb is that you can use the smaller, less aggressive pitch. That is a lot different.
It is a lot different.
That is way different.
I think the wood one.
I do too.
I vote for wood.
Okay. You get the wood. Okay. So we got the landing gear.
Oh, those are the actual landing gear.
Here, feel these. Heavy.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Nice.
Nice. A little detent there. Mm-hmm. Okay. So
Cool.
we'll put those next to the bogies, or not the bogies. I don't know if those would qualify as wheel pants. They're not really wheel pants. Wheel pants would go around the wheel.
I'm sure someone will correct you in the comments.
That's right. No matter what I say, I can't win, so I'm just going to say nothing. Taking the Fifth Amendment on what that thing is.
You're going to say nothing? You're watching like a 4-hour video.
That's true. Well, nothing about that. I'll cover other topics.
You'll still be wrong about those. They'll still correct you.
Yes, they'll still correct me. Okay. So here goes nothing. We're just going to get this thing out of the plastic. I'm being very gentle because I don't want to rip it and have it slip out. Oh, that is some good finish. Oh my goodness.
That is really
Look
pretty.
at that. Look at that.
I know.
That is so gorgeous. Look, there's a little relief there. That's probably where actually there's nothing that goes in there. I mean, this is so much better, I feel like, than the last one we did.
All the electronics are installed.
I know, we don't have to mess with anything. It's so awesome. Okay, so we love the ARF Plus sort of plug and play.
That motor
Wait a second though.
gigantic.
That pilot Is that really the way it would look in real life?
I feel like he's a little tall.
I feel like he's way small.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
I'll have to look up a real one. Okay, so hot rotating parts, hon.
Oh.
Watch out for the hot rotating parts. Okay, 4250, 600 kV spectrum. So 600 rotations per volt. Okay, per minute. Rotations per minute per volt. Okay, so I am a little bit nervous about that tipping, so we might put it on the plane stand. Obviously, we get a little pile here. I wonder if we could set it on top of this thing, which is the weird foam insert that came with it. Okay, so it's down. So now I'm gonna take and release. There's a release right here. Very carefully lift. Oh, that is so gorgeously.
That's good.
Look at this, guys. See this? You don't even have to do that. That's so nice. I'm so happy about all that. Okay, so now let's look inside. There's room for additional servos. I don't really know what those extra servos would be.
Huge.
Yeah, they are huge. And then it comes equipped with the Avian ESC. That looks like a Spectrum 1060C Smart. Okay, so that's all good. And we should be able to do thrust reverse, I assume, but I don't know that for a fact. I would assume we can though. Then of course we got the 2 servo leads right there, which I'm just gonna lay this down and actually take these 2. Oh, and they're labeled with huge labels. Now the other thing is, I'm kind of wondering about where do you want the receiver? I guess the receiver could go in a number of different places. You're gonna want this for the battery. So I would assume this is actually going to pass under and then go back to wherever the receiver mounts, which I assume the receiver would go back here because you're gonna have the battery here.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna try to pass this under right now, just so I don't forget, get excited and make decisions that will be hard to change later. Okay, so throttle, rudder, okay, good. And then we'll have ailerons, but ailerons in our case, I 100% gonna set out flaperons. There's no doubt in my mind. Flaperons are probably not gonna be necessary on a plane like this, but I'm gonna still have them anyway. And for that reason, we're gonna use the AR637T, and that's gonna give us Vario if you want it, which would be totally weird on this plane. It's also gonna give you the capability to bring in your voltage here. But because we are using an Avian ESC with an Avian, or a smart ESC with a smart receiver, you can get all your telemetry data passed via the smart cables and all that good jazz. So we use smart batteries. And even if you're using dumb batteries, you can still get the telemetry for your pack voltage. You just won't get the individual cell counts. So that's our plan there. And then of course we're gonna use the NX8. We have plenty of channels to do this because obviously we're gonna have safe on and off. We're gonna have a master gain, okay? Then we're gonna have throttle, elevator, rudder, aileron 1, aileron 2, which would be the flaperon 1, flaperon 2. Okay, so that gives us a total of 8 channels. So we should be golden. No retracts to deal with, so it'd be quite easy. All right, great. So the next move for us is to basically go through the manual for a minute and figure out how we're gonna conduct the next stage of the build, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so we got all the kind of things laid out. We went through the instructions real briefly, just kind of get a big idea of what we need to do. And so we're just gonna jump into this, open up the nut and bolt sack. Got a handful of different sizes here. These blue things are supposed to be glued around the landing gear, and I think the camera crew and I are I think we're in agreement on this, that we're not sure that this adds enough to justify the effort, / I'm afraid they're just gonna wanna pop off. So I'm not sure. It's always something I can add later too, so I think I might leave it off. And I know some of you guys are gonna say, why would you leave that off? Well, just because if you look at it, of all the finish on this plane, this is kind of like almost just, I don't know. I just don't feel like that looks good enough. And I don't wanna have to trim it because then the blue paint's gonna get cut. So I'm not sure. I haven't really made up my mind. We may end up adding that later, but for now, we're probably gonna just defer to not do it. So what?
Those are called fairings.
They're called
fairings. So if
fairings.
people hadn't corrected us yet, you don't have to
Yes,
now.
the fairings. You won't have to correct us because I'm sure you'll wait to correct us until later in the video because that's usually the way people do it, right? Camera crew?
Right.
So the first step is actually to put the wings together, which I think is a little bit strange because you technically, well, and by the way, they said to pass the wires through the top of the wing. So they mean here.
Yeah.
Okay, also these are labeled aileron A and aileron B. Now, that doesn't necessarily articulate left and right aileron, but it doesn't really matter because my experience with flaperons is that you really don't know until you know. So it doesn't really matter. You could label them left and right, but it's just going to be whatever luck of the draw is on the transmitter.
Plugged in, right?
Because they never seem to be whatever you expect. So just honestly, the best thing to do is just plan on not knowing and just knowing that one is one and the other is the other. So if that makes any sense, and you guys that have built a lot of planes will totally understand what I just explained. It's pretty simple, basic stuff. You only need to know that there are 2 separate ailerons in order to accomplish our goals. The other thing too is, as with other balsa wood style planes, there is not near as much forgiveness on overdriving servos. So be super careful that when you plug in your servos, they are centered, and you don't want to have these things running into the frame and then overdriving, because you can damage the servos, and it will happen quicker than you probably realize. So you need to be Johnny on the spot with your testing, or you need to put something like a servo tester to each of the servos and then center them in this manner mechanically before you actually do your assembly. Now, in our case, we are gonna go ahead and throw caution to the wind, but we'll be watching as soon as we fire it up with the battery, and if we have issues, we'll unplug. Okay, so we've got this rod. The joiner rod goes through here. That is legit, okay?
I did say, don't force it in. Like, it'll go in a certain
That's right, it goes a certain depth. If you cram it in and there's any sort of noises, then you went too far.
Yep.
Okay. And by the way, look at the dihedral, okay? There is definitely dihedral in here, a little bit. Come on, come on. There it is. See, you just gotta be gentle and take your time and get the tip started, and then just work your way in. Now I'm gonna carefully lay this down because I'm trying to get this stupid thing to not fall in the crack. Okay. Just being gentle, taking my time. There's a little bit more of the wrap on this side, but you see what I'm talking about? You see how hard I'm holding that? Okay, so really I think what I need to do is I'm gonna pull it out of this side. And for the sake of understanding how deep this goes, there we go, much better. Okay, so I'm rotating it to give me that secondary stimulation that will tell me that I've got enough penetration. So now I'm gonna slide this in. Thank you. And then there is a joiner right here that's gonna go at the tail. And so the camera crew is holding, but you're gonna have to let go, because I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna hold it up against my belly, and then I can guide that in.
Ooh,
super easy, okay? So there you go. So size, comparison, I've got it sitting on top of my foot to protect the end. And look how gorgeous that is. That's really, really pretty. I love the way that looks.
Fits together really well.
Okay, cool. So now the next thing we're gonna do is, now we're not gonna attach these together with a Y cable because we wanna do flaperons. So of course we're gonna express how to do that. Oh, and I caught my label. Okay, so now the next thing we wanna do is install the landing gear, honestly. Wouldn't it make better sense to install landing gear now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's fine.
So the landing gear goes something like this. I'm gonna flip this thing upside down, like this. Okay. Now the landing gear, slide into this, and there is a key here. This key allows the wheel to be centered, in fact, I'll just show you, between the 2 collars, okay? See that? Okay. So they are supposed to be canted forward a little bit, and I don't know which one I've got. I believe I got this right. Don't know. There's a straight down. Yep, that went very smooth, and it's canted forward. Okay, if you do it the wrong way, then it won't be leaning, and that is incorrect. So you need to make sure that it's leaning forward when you're done. And that's gonna help with making the plane not nose over as bad as it might otherwise do. Okay, so by the way, I'm supporting under the center of the wing because of the dihedral. You see what I'm doing here? You see my problem I've run into a little bit? Looks like they didn't relieve as much of that wood as they could have. And so I'm just trying, I'm gonna actually go backward with this a little bit just to get penetration. And I'm listening and feeling. And then as I get closer to my target, then I can go ahead and, yep, rotate it right in. Nice. Okay, so that went smooth and unexpectedly smooth, in fact. Now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 collars. There is a provided Allen tool, okay? And then there's some of these black sets. Those sets actually go inside of here, right? Okay. So as you can see, very simple mechanism. But before we even get to that, which we're gonna use these. And so these are 4 tie downs. You're gonna use 2 on each landing gear. And they're kind of uggo, to be honest, but they're gonna work. And this is one of the trade-offs. See how it's at an angle, folks? That's the way you accomplish a tight hold, is if you were to do it flat, then it would reach too far. This way you get the shaft of the screw closer to the strength point, because there's a thickened piece of wood here. So you're gonna hit that wood. Now, I'm gonna slide this thing over, camera crew.
Okay.
What I need to do is I need to figure out which screws are which, because honestly, this is gonna be a little bit challenging. Was there not some sort of an indication of which ones to use?
Well,
because it does look like there's a certain count.
You need 8, so they're gonna be the medium size, and it did say to use a number 2 Phillips screwdriver.
So a number 2 Phillips, and I've got my backup plan here from China if that doesn't work, okay? Okay, so number 2 Phillips speaks to the tip size if you weren't already aware of that, which I'm sure you guys watching this channel would be. And you know what, I'm kicking myself now because we should have put the stupid decals on first. Dang. Because now we've got the dihedral to deal with. Well, at least the landing gear will make it easier to roll around and be squirrely. Okay, so look, let's look at these. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, those are the ones, because there's only one set that's gonna work. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and take this and dip the tip. The tip goes in, we've got just very light penetration. And what I wanna do is I wanna take and hold that. Once I get the penetration started, I can give it a couple of turns. Now you could take a little CA, put it on the tip of the screw, and then run it in to line the holes into your plywood base. I believe this part that we're going into is plywood.
And they can see here that there are little holes
Pre-drill
that you are lining up with.
Yep, and I'm just supporting the wing with my hand. And I am not doing this with a drill for a reason. I know some of you guys are gonna say, just get her done, Brian, get the drill out. Well, we're not gonna do that on this plane because I kinda like this plane and I don't wanna get her done with the drill. And by the way, this one was a lot harder to get in than the other one. That other one just like slid in almost like butter.
Okay.
Okay, so now I'm going so that it's tight. I love that this landing gear is simple. I just wish the blue things were like a little bit prettier. So folks, here on Bright Phillips RC, we are not afraid to point out things that we don't like about planes. Case in point, the blue things. But that being said, I must say, I am super impressed with this, like way more than the P40.
Yeah.
P47, it was a P47. Why do I keep saying P40? I think it's because we did a P40 the other day, and so it's stuck in my head.
And
but the P47, I wanted to be more scale. This is fun scale.
Yeah.
And I feel like this plane pulls off the fun scale look better. I also feel like the pilot seems too small to me. I could be mistaken. I got to look up what a real PT-19 size class would be, because normally the pilot would stick out the top, I thought.
Well, I know you think those little clips are uggo, but they match. I mean, it's all the same like plastic and hardware as all of the control horns and stuff.
Oh,
I don't know.
I guess that's true. I think it's uggo.
You gotta get, how else are you gonna put it on there? What's strong?
With something that's black or something that's white. But it is what it is. They are very strong. It's just that, you know.
It is a simple design.
Okay, now I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna set my set screw in here, okay? So you can see they're very small. You see my nasty thumbnails almost grown out, people. I know you're worried about that. I've had people asking. People are really concerned about that thing.
You don't keep hurting yourself. It's just
no. It's like it takes forever to grow out. It's like I did it. It was a 1 second mistake that
will live on.
That will live on.
History of YouTube
in infamy. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how much fun it is to use this, and I'll show you with the regular screwdriver. Okay, so we're going to get this started now. The optional step would be to put some Loctite on here. And to be honest with you, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea. In fact, we do have Loctite, so I might actually do Loctite on here because it's so simple to add Loctite. Also, Loctite is not near as big a problem on this type of aircraft. If you don't have Loctite, but you'd like to keep your screws set, just be careful. Don't do this with Loctite on plastic to plastic components or metal with plastic nearby like Nylox, because this solvent can break down the plastic and and then you basically undermine the entire strength of the component. Okay, so we'll just, this little Loctite, blue Loctite. And yes, it is Loctite brand, but who cares what brand it is. Okay, and then we can just back that off and then screw this in. Okay, really simple. Now the face is here. So I've got the flat here. So I'm gonna slide this on. Got to back off the screw just a hair to get it on there. And then it's slipping on with no problem at this point. Oh, by the way, we're charging 6S, 5,000 milliamp, 50C packs, but the 50C is probably way overkill. We just happen to have nice, high quality 50C packs. So we're gonna use them. And also, I just wanna show you, this must be approximately, I'm guessing this is about a 1 millimeter. Might be a 1.5. Did it say in the instructions?
It did not. It just said using the provided.
Are you, what, is there a reason you're so far away? Trying to get the backdrop? Okay, so let's try this. So see this, guys? Oh yeah.
So that was a 1?
Yeah, 1.5.
Oh.
1.5, yeah. Very good size. Okay, so I'm gonna slip this on. Very nice. Oh, wait. Were we supposed to use washers?
No, the washers were something on the tail.
Okay, so we're just gonna do a little bit more of this goody gumdrops right here. Boy, there's not much left in my bottle because what I'm getting is mostly solvent and not much Loctite. Sometimes that stuff will do that to you, by the way. Make sure you get a little Loctite out there. If you're gonna pump it out, you gotta pump the goods out too, right? Okay, so now that's started. I'm gonna push the wheel on, slip the collar in, and then I'm gonna tighten this. And you can kind of see my screwdriver is tilted down because the flat face is flat there, okay? Not that it really doesn't matter where that goes, in my opinion, as long as you hit the flat face, okay? Now I'm gonna go over to the other side and torque it down. It's way easier with the driver. Okay, so that already is torqued down. Okay, there's quite a bit protruding from the end, but whatever. Now I'm gonna tip this towards you, and then we're gonna do this one. And the next step after we're done with this is gonna be what? We gotta put the wing on. So I wonder if maybe it would make sense for us to do the decals next. What do you think?
Oh, okay.
So guys, if you're into this type of content on Brian Phillips RC here on YouTube, and you like the fact that it's free and that you can come in here and kind of get some helping hands, so to speak, from myself and the camera crew who've dedicated large portions of our life to reviewing this radio controlled stuff for you. And by the way, we love it. Well, at least I do. Then the easiest way to support us is to buy the planes, leaf blowers, tractors, whatever it is that we're reviewing. And you can actually be part of our success story, which is right here on YouTube for your viewing pleasure. The other way you can help us is to smash the like button, obviously. Click the bell for notifications and come back and watch all the new amazing content that's coming all the time, because really we try to put out about 3 to 5 videos a week, which is insane. And we do it all in long format. Thank God we don't have to do a lot of editing, but really the editing we do just has to do with pausing because your dad shows up to watch a football game, which is what we're about to do soon. And if you guys are into watching football games, just remember, sometimes your team has a bad year. So we're gonna finish this up and come right back, guys. And just like that, it was dark. Okay, so while you guys were away for a quick second, I threw some decals on here, and then I finished this other side, which was identical to this side. So as you can see, we've got some sweet decals. We have to put one left on. We had to do a little improvisation here because these things, I think they're fuel tank access hatches, but I don't know. And then you also notice I got a hot glue gun. So these decals went super easy. They're really easy to get on and off. They're trimmed perfectly, so no big problems there. And I'm just gonna show you doing one of them. And so what I do is I usually count over the ribs, and then I get a reference point and just kind of figure out where I want to hit. So I think I want to go in 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then that's going to get me about there. And I'm just going to verify, or wait, is it 1, 2, 3? Here's the 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. Yep, I about did that in the wrong spot. And then just lining it up similar and just letting it fall. And that way I don't get a bunch of bubbles in there. Because the bubbles are pretty devastating. This is a nice opaque sticker. Should be no problem. Okay, great. So as you can see, now we also did the 44s.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And these are attached in the middle, which is really nice because it makes it super easy to apply. And kind of the main ticket item I've noticed on this whole build is that everything has gone really smooth. And we like that on Brian Phillips RC. Because it's a lot less frustrating. Okay, now also I had a change of heart because I figured out a way to do this off camera, and I'm gonna just show you what I did, okay? They suggested using a rubbery, like an adhesive for a canopy adhesive, and I don't like using that. I've used it and it works great, but I don't wanna use it, okay? So here I've got this piece and you can see what we did over here. It's glued around. And you don't want these to be, even though it would look a lot better, you don't want these to be like this, okay? Now why? Because when that moves in and out, it's gonna rip a hole in your wing. So you do need to have a little bit of a relief there. And so how are we gonna get it so that it mimics this position? Well, it's gonna be pretty easy because I'm just gonna hot glue the thing in there. See? I'm just gonna tack it on with a little bit of hot glue. I didn't mean to put that outside, but I did. Just get a little bit of hot glue. And the thing that's nice about this is since it's going onto a steel member, it's gonna basically set up really quick. And all I wanna do is just get that to hold steady. And it's 2 halves, so it's really quite simple. Once that hot glue sets up, and I had to do it twice on the first one because the hot glue, even with the simple hot glue, was kind of a challenge. I mean, it's not hard, it just happens to be that it's hard to get this thing to cool and stay in position because this is cold. And so it cools almost immediately. Okay, so now that's gonna basically hold that in place. Of course, you gotta get the strings, you do a little dance, look a little like a weirdo. And then I'm gonna take and just verify that we're good there. Yep, that looks good. And then this time, you have to work really quick with this stuff and try not to burn yourself. And yes, this is heavy, so I'm gonna intentionally not go totally nuts with it, but I do want to glue the 2 halves together and have enough to actually hold things in position. Now, keep in mind, if you use hot glue on the wrong type of plastic, you'll melt it and it will look like crap. This stuff is strong enough that it seems to be tolerating the heat okay. And then you'll note that that was quite simple, but even with that limited amount of heat, there's a little bit of a bump here, okay? So that's one of the reasons why they suggest using the plastic or like the, okay, now also make sure those are square because there's no real retention, okay? And you don't want that to create drag, so that's pretty sweet, okay? So we'll just lay that down. And obviously hot glue is just about one of the easiest things to use because it dries or cools in this case, and it's done. And that's all the decals, which took me about 5 minutes off camera to do that. And so it's quite simple to do that. And I think you should definitely use the decals. And so once you get that wing assembled, I think the real smart thing to do is to kind of assemble the fuse before you put the wing on. So that's what I'm gonna do next. I'm just gonna feed this over and pass this down. And what you wanna do is spin the motor a little bit, and you can tell my motor's not free. So you have to kind of get this positioned right, and then it'll spin. And that actually gets your holes lined up. And look, you don't even have to put the holes in. It's so weird because you wouldn't think that's super big rocket science maneuver, but you'd be surprised. There's a lot of planes that you don't get that benefit from.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna grab the 4 screws that appear to go here.
Those would be the smallest ones?
Nope.
Probably.
The smallest ones are smaller.
Oh, smaller, okay.
There's only 4 that are like this.
Okay.
Okay. Now a number 2 Phillips is not gonna work in here. So I'm gonna use one of my China screwdrivers or one of the crappy tool shop ones. Okay, so now all I'm gonna do is attempt to use the magnetic hold feature from this tool to actually get that started. Okay, and once it's started, then I'll go ahead and get the next one started. And this match on color is almost perfect. I mean, it's very, very, very similar. And it's got a really good similar finish on the shininess too, which is something that we're not used to seeing, to be frank. It's usually a close match, but it's not usually a great match. We've actually been quite impressed with how easy this build has gone. Like, we actually have wood to hit with a screw, which is unusual. Normally that's not the case. For whatever reason, I don't know why that is, but it's true. Okay, so now I'm gonna line this up by moving it, and then I'm gonna spin the motor. We're free. Okay. So now this time I'm just gonna take the screw, because I can, and just start it with the first turn or two with my fingers and make things very simple. Okay. Then I'm gonna go back at it with the Phillips China screw. So folks, if you want to help support our channel, buy these planes from the links in the video description below. And obviously come back, watch the videos. Don't forget to click the bell for notifications. And if you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button down below. You definitely want to know about the content, so clicking the bell will get you notified when new stuff comes out. Okay, cool. So now we'll flip this up. Just be careful that Cal will actually get squished if you're not careful. This will clear. See this? It's the next move. Pop that off. 2 magnets. Allow access to get the tail and all that installed. So now that that's off, you can see that there's an access point here and here. And there's going to be some nuts and things that pass through. Okay. This assembly is going to sit on top of this assembly, so we have to do it in the right order. So now that we have this magnet off, we can flip the fuse back over. And we'll just leave those wires to be wherever they land. I'm trying to use the foam that came with the plane. It's always nice if you can do that. Okay, so then obviously the horizontal stabilizer and elevator, you need to work it a few times. In our case, I don't feel like it really needs to be worked all that much, but it was listed in the instructions, so we did that. And then you can just slide this forward. I didn't do that off camera, by the way. I literally didn't do it at all, which is nice. Look how perfect that fit is. That is like absolutely phenomenal.
Super straight, and
it never works like that. I don't care how nice of a build it is. Okay, so you see this? I don't know if this thing comes out forward or if it just doesn't come out, or if you just do this.
I think it's just said you were gonna have to like manipulate it a little bit.
Yep. Look at this. This is gonna be so easy. Look at this. I can't believe how good this thing's going together. They're never this easy. If they were always this easy, that'd be so cool.
That'd be amazing.
Oh, that is amazing. Okay. Guys, we shouldn't be, you know, it's like
You shouldn't be shocked.
this is like always the way we think they're gonna go, but they never go this way. They're never this easy. Okay, I need to trade spots with you. I'm sorry. Getting the screws to line up is proving to be pretty challenging, but no, they're in.
Yeah.
That was ridiculously easy. Gotta love it. It's like the easy button. Okay, so we flipped over the plane. I'm gonna just hang the tail over so that it can drop down below the counter. And I don't want that to fall.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
so
to me
just kind of keep a hand.
Okay.
So there's 3 screw points here, and they're already pre-drilled as well. Holy cow, they've thought of everything. Hangar 9 did so much of a better job on this than the P40.
Yeah.
The P47 was way harder than this. And that's still a good plane, it's just, they thought of everything with this.
Oh, so those 3 screws all go right there.
And I'm only doing this first because then that gives us something to bite quick, so it
Right.
doesn't drop. I might only do one.
Just do the one.
Just to get it started. I'm just gonna center this. And so guys, you may have noticed before I left, when the sun was still out in our video, oh, I missed the hole. I hate it when that happens.
Oh, that's a bummer.
There's the hole.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just gonna get that one down. Okay, so that's really good, and you can see the 2 other holes. My experience has never been this easy on any, even the good Hangar 9 stuff we've done. What did we do? The Hangar 9 Ultra Stick. That was pretty easy compared to the P-47.
I don't think we've ever done a balsa plane that's been
quite this
easy.
simple.
Yeah.
Well, that was an ARF, wasn't it? No, that was like an
I don't
ARF
think
plug
so.
and fly
I
like
think
this.
it was, yeah.
Okay, so one last screw here, folks. And we still have clearance to get the blue thing in. And remember, the only reason I'm doing this first is because that gives us access to not have to worry about those nuts and bolts. Which you're supposed to use a 1/4-inch nut driver.
Oh, we didn't grab one of those.
We did not grab the nut driver.
Shoot.
But we might be able to, they're nylocks, so you're gonna have to have a nut driver, I bet. Okay, so the nuts and bolt sack is empty.
You had the 2 little washers, right? Yep. Sweet.
This is like the easiest build ever.
Kind of like waiting
for something bad to happen.
bad to happen.
Nope, and the radio system is gonna be super easy too, which is why a lot of you guys are here on Brian Phillips RC, because one of the things we do here is we show the full untruncated setup of the radio, and that's a really helpful thing for a lot of you guys that are new to the hobby or returning to the hobby. We just want you guys to know that we do care and we want to help so that you can get the most out of the hobby. That nut does not want to start. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the one that will start to start. And then what we're going to do is we will then use that to pull the material in. I'm sorry, I am totally blocking you, camera crew.
Well, we can see your nut.
I've got 2 of them here.
So are you going to get a nut driver or are you going to wing it from what's in the kitchen?
I'm going to lazily look for something that might work.
That won't quite work?
Yeah.
What?
I hope this works. That would be so cool if it did. No? What about this one?
Aw,
Oh, son of a biscuit lover.
almost lazy enough.
That's such a bummer. It's so
Like
close.
so close.
I do have another idea because I hate to go get a nut driver just for this one thing.
For 2 nuts.
But what we could, well, I've got multiple options here.
Oh, that's true.
I'm so lazy. I hate going downstairs to get tools. We need to get a nut driver set for the kitchen.
Great. Put that on my Christmas list.
Booyah, folks.
No way.
Yes way.
Oh, jeez.
It is totally working.
You're so lucky.
Oh man, that's hilarious. So you guys can see that. This happened to be 1/4 inch. Thank you, Menards.
For the free birthday
Thank
gift.
you, Menards, for
That
tightening my
we've
nards.
literally only used once.
If you guys aren't familiar with Menards, this is a birthday gift I got from Menards a few years ago. Happy birthday to me. That sounded terrible. Where did it break? Let's go ahead and look. I knew it was going too smooth.
Did you just over tighten it?
It said in the instructions something like "do not over tighten."
I didn't.
I don't know. I just think it pulled into position. I think
Yeah.
it just popped loud.
Ooh.
That was scary. Okay, so that didn't break. Okay, so I do notice something here too now. We've seen that before. You see this? But honestly, that's a lot less than we've seen in the past on other planes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna loosen that.
I was gonna say you're not tightening that more, are
Loosening
you?
that. No, I'm loosening it to see if that goes away. That's like 3 or 4 turns. I want to see if it changes this pressure. Because you see what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. It's got a propensity, but these are large servos with pretty good amount of power. I really honestly don't think that's like enough to really write home about.
Okay.
I would like it to not be like that. So what I'm going to do is, just to be on the safe side, if we can get super lucky, I'm going to release these screws here and see if we can get to a neutral position.
Okay.
Okay, so there's 1. There's 2. And then here's 3. I want this to be able to move free, and it's not currently moving free, but we're gonna do a little bit more backing off until, see, it's still wanting to rock. I'm just gonna loosen a little bit more and see if that helps.
Why does it do that?
Well, I think it's just the geometry of the wing. We've seen this before on numerous models, but what I don't like it, obviously. Okay, look, from the top, you see what's going on? See this? How it's changing the position. See how it's manipulating this? Look from right above. Okay, hold steady. Are you centered above it? Mm-hmm. See how it's rocking the tip?
Yeah.
So one of the ways that you can resolve that is you can brace this with strings, okay? In real life, there'd probably be a lateral support there. That would come in the, form of a wire and some sort of a turnbuckle. But I guess in our case, since I can't eliminate it, I'm gonna just double check that it won't eliminate. No, I don't think it's gonna be eliminated. I think it just is what it is. But I am gonna put, once we get the radio set up, we'll put that into the appropriate hole and make sure we don't see any overloading or anything on the servos. Okay. So we'll go ahead and tighten this again. Being careful to listen and feel. That's close enough for me. It doesn't take a lot to break stuff, guys. So just be careful here. I'm not gonna go any tighter than that. Lazy wins tonight.
Sort of.
Put away the keys to your heart.
Yeah, you can just put those in the drawer.
Okay, so the next step, of course, is gonna be to, of course, put this back on. Okay, now, I don't trust that in a permanent setting, and so I have an idea. And the idea is very simple, very basic, and it's gonna be very effective. And it entails some clear tape. Now, the only reason I'm doing this is because once I'm flying, I don't want that thing to come off. Now, you probably don't have to tape this, but I don't wanna risk it because this is a nice plane, and I want it to stay as such. I pulled all that extra out so I could do this without having a nasty spot on it. Okay, so now I'm just gonna tape this. I'm literally just gonna put the tape there. Done. Then I'm gonna literally do that again, and I'm literally not gonna think about it ever again until we have some massive repair from screwing up something else, okay?
Okay.
Or in 5 minutes, like when I need to get in there to tighten my nuts.
Right.
Okay, but I cut both edges clean with scissors. And that is so that the tape doesn't have those little ridges, and I'll show you why. Because see, this is stuck to my arm, or my finger, see this? Those little ridges give a place for the tape to split like that when you go to peel it off. In this case, you'll be able to peel it off and have a clean release and actually get in there and not have a big mess. All right, great. So the next move, we could do the prop, but we'll probably hold off on the prop for now. Gonna move the canopy right into our goods. And then we're gonna put this wing on right now. Okay. It's gonna be amazing. Okay, so we got the wing. It's been nice, haven't had to have a plane stand. Probably could have done it with a plane stand. Okay, so these wires are gonna need to pass through something like this or something like this. I'm thinking that the plugs are gonna be on the front. I don't know if it really matters. I guess I'll just go here for now. And then I'm gonna go, should I be on both sides, you think? Or just come from the same spot?
Usually all kind of plugs in together, so it might make the most sense to
That
just
might
kinda
not
go the same
reach.
way.
That might not reach the way it's going.
Yeah.
That makes me like quite nervous, actually. Look, I don't think we're gonna have enough.
That one's gonna go that way.
Crap. We gotta rethink that maybe.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna send this back through, I guess, because that's the ESC, which is obviously important. The electronic speed control needs to go all the way back. So I guess we'll pass that this way. But it would be really nice to not have to have that be in the way And so I'm gonna just pass that. Oh, you know, that might interfere with where the wing heads. So you see how there's a cavity in here, guys? That cavity is going to be unpassable here, potentially.
Should we kind of dry fit the wing?
Yeah, let's just leave that out for now. I think we're gonna have to come up here, so let's just do that for the moment.
Okay.
Okay, so we're just gonna kind of put these all in the same similar area. Okay. And then I'm just gonna kind of put them all back through the other side so that they stay put temporarily. Okay. Sort of stay put. And that can stay put there. This is looking so good. This has been like the easiest build ever. Okay, so then this can now go right in here. I want to just manipulate these wires through the hole just a little better so that we don't have a bunch of slack that gets potentially bound up, cause a problem. Nut zerts are here. As you can see, there's a little teeny lip here to catch. I don't think that's supposed to be there, but it is. And then this goes into the front. So I do have to pass these two wires through. I'm gonna pass them through the same spot. They don't have to go a long ways, they just have to go through for now. And then as the wing gets into position, we can always pull the slack down. Okay, so then that goes right into this keyhole here. Oh my goodness. That is miraculous, guys.
Wow.
Wow. I feel like we have been walking on eggshells for fear of jinxing this build, but yet it's just been really, really straightforward and really as easy as you think it should be. I wish we could always get that.
Yes.
And honestly, like Hangar 9, they're a great company or a great brand, but we have not had that experience with Hangar 9 planes. They've not been bad, but they've been not easy to build.
Not been easy, yeah.
They've been like not easy like this. So I'm super impressed with how well this has gone together. And if you guys are in the mood for a more complex build, then they do offer ARFs as well. Okay, and ARFs, of course, would require, they're almost ready to fly, which is the stupidest terminology ever because they're like
Not
the
even
least
close.
ready other than a kit. Well, they're a lot more than a kit.
That's true.
Kits would be like you get balsa wood and you get glue and you get
Yeah.
3 or 4 weeks of your life traded for that airplane. And to be honest with you, a lot of people love doing kits. And that's okay if that's your thing. But I cannot, at this moment in our lives, we just don't really have time or patience for that. There may be a time where you want me to deploy more of my time and patience on those kits.
Do I have to film it all?
Probably not.
Okay.
There's a lot of threads on here. If you guys are going to be taking this on and off, then I would suggest that you figure out where you want them, and then I would cut off a length of the screw so that it's an easy meshing, but that it doesn't cause you turmoil every time you go to fly. Okay, cool. So they're in place. This plane is like pretty much built. That's crazy.
This would totally be like a first balsa plane. Well, it depends on how it flies.
I don't want to say that yet. It's just too early to
True.
say.
Yeah.
They say skill level 3
That's true.
because it's not like
Yes.
a super easy thing
The
to
assembly is
build these
bad.
planes. But honestly, it's so much easier. Oh crap, I didn't get that wire through. See that one wire? I missed it. You see it? So I want to
yeah.
keep it like this so I don't lose it. It looks so good.
Love the colors.
Me too. I'm gonna get these forceps. Okay, so I've got bent tip forceps. And I'm gonna try to reach in here. Now first, I'm gonna bring this close to the opening, then I'm gonna pass through. Oh, I'm grabbing right where the wire label is. Okay, so I'm gonna pass in, get the bend of the forceps where I need it, and then I can grab where the wire is and actually very carefully not get it through. So now backup plan, flat bladed screwdriver. I'm just gonna try to rock that thing through, and that's not going. So now of course the other option is to try to lay it down, which is probably not a terrible option because I'm gonna have to use 3 hands for this. Okay. So here's the next option. I'm trying to go through this slot here, and I could have gone through these. And it's not like there's one that's right and one that's wrong. It's just that my preference is to bring it through this opening, and you'll see why that makes better sense later. Once we've had a chance to get the radio in there, or the transmitter, excuse me, the receiver. Gosh, I can't talk. Sorry. Okay, so now that I kind of have that halfway through the opening and it's fallen, I'm going to try again. Goodness gracious. Okay, so I'm going to pass this up. You know what? We're going to pause and get this through. Okay, so I turned the head of it and then passed it through. No big deal. But that just shows you the reason why you want to try to get those things passed through while it's not attached to the wing yet, or to the fuse. Because it's harder than it looks to do that. Okay, wonderful. And that took us about a minute off camera.
Yeah.
I also note that this is not tight yet. So I don't know if I didn't tighten or if the screws backed off. I hope it's not the latter. Okay, so that tightened the cowl way more. I love that they had everything pre-drilled, because then there's not a bunch of guesswork. And it's funny because when you have a plane that you build yourself and you really put your heart and soul into it, if you guys did this from scratch and it looked this good, you are a really good model builder, because it is hard to make a plane look this good. My grandpa, who's now passed, used to build balsa wood planes, and we would work together to electrify them and then fly them. And it was super fun, and we enjoyed that experience for several years before he had passed away. And one of the big things that always came to the forefront is, okay, so I have aileron B here and aileron A. The aileron A label is underneath the wood, okay? So just so you guys know, full disclosure, not really a big deal, but I just want you to be aware. We aren't gonna see that label, but I could tell which one's which because there is a distinguishing factor that I can call out. So anyway, he would build these airplanes and I'd help him set up the electronics, and then we would then fly those planes that we built together, which was super fun. But I mean, he was reasonably good builder, and they would never like be this clean and perfect, because it is very hard to get them this clean. Speaking of clean and perfect, goodness gracious, this prop looks gorgeous. And by the way, feel how light that is.
Love it.
Nuts, right?
Yeah.
Okay, ready? Now, normally you don't want to do this until you've had an opportunity to vet your power system and make sure everything is going to be safe and you don't have anything where the prop wants to take off, but I'll show you some different safety measures that you can use, because really in this hobby, there's 2 ways you get hurt: 1 prop, 2 lipos. Avoid both. The easiest way to avoid damage to your human flesh with a prop is to not have the prop on when you're setting up your bird. Now, for the sake of time and video footage, we are going to have the prop on because I want to see how beautiful it looks. But the truth is, I am not impervious to the possibility of injury. And so someday I probably will get hurt if I keep doing this forever this way. And so I don't want you guys to see that as some sort of a arrogant stupidity, but you can see that however you want. I'm just going to do this and do it as safe as possible. Okay. So I'm going to brace here and torque there. Now, we may need to balance that a little bit better, but for now we've got it at least on there, and that's an important detail, and I can't not do this. I have to do this because it's so gorgeous. Oh, that looks so good. Oh my goodness, that looks so sweet. Oh, really happy with that. Very cool, and definitely good size too. I love the size. The pilot is probably about 10% short. I think if there was something for looks that we could do, I'd take the pilot off and bring him up a little bit higher, because his head should protrude about here.
Just over the top.
So he's actually about the right scale. He just happens to be a little bit too short. Not a big deal. Definitely something that I can forgive, because maybe he's just not very tall. I don't know. Man, that looks so good. Okay, so the next move for us is going to be doing the radio setup. So we also have the CG to mark at some point, but because the CG is not really testable until we have the radio system in, because the radio system is going to dictate exactly where the battery can fit, which should be at the front stall. So let's talk about that a little bit more now as we move forward. Okay, so we release there. This thing works really good for lifting off the canopy, by the way. So the next move is to actually install the radio, okay? Now, because we are using a spatially aware receiver and then a computerized transmitter that's going to talk with it, we have to make sure we're mindful of where we install this, because it is going to indicate to itself what the position of the aircraft is. So also notice that this is a tail dragger, which means it sits at a bit of an angle. And then once you get up to fly, it's going to fly like this, you know, and then the tail's going to go down when you land, and so on and so forth. So you need to keep those things in mind. Tail draggers do take, 2 seconds extra thought. It's not really a big deal, but we'll go ahead and break this open right now. And I do really like the AR637TA, which comes with the bind and flies, but this is the 637T. And the 637T does have full telemetry, so you're gonna have an altitude indication and barometer for changes in altitude. So you could actually have a vario, which is the boop, 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 beep, beep, beep. And they beep when you're going up in a higher pitch, and they beep in a lower pitch when you're going down. You won't need this cable on this plane because you already have telemetry feedback through the smart circuit. So I'll just lay this to the side for now, and we will use that for another application at a later time. But for now, we've got 2 antennas, and these antennas are going to be used for diversity communication, because remember, this is a transceiver, not just a receiver. So it's transmitting and receiving data. And this is primarily the transmitter, but it's a transmitter and receiver too. And there's also an antenna in the handle here that's perpendicular to the main antenna. This can be moved, and then to stow the radio, you can put that flat, which is really nice. But just be mindful that some of these knobs end up being the high point then, so just be careful, okay? I use a lanyard with my NX8, if you guys aren't already privy to that. And by the way, I don't even know if I'm gonna look at this anymore, but I do have it handy for when we get to the CG.
Yep, that'll be about it.
So my suggestion would be, you have to deal with the items on here at some point, but we really don't know exactly where things are gonna plug in until we turn on our radio system. And so our next move is, camera crew, if you would mind, I am going to figure out approximately where I want it, which is gonna be there or there. I think we're gonna be limited to being here because of the length of the cables. Okay, so then how do we know which port hooks up to what? Well, that's a great question. The way you know is you set up your radio profile. So let's do that next. And how do we do that? Well, we're gonna turn on our transmitter first thing, get our knobs and switches where we want them. We can talk about this more. Now, our last plane that we did was a P40. Okay, so we're gonna go to add new model, create. Help me not knock it off of the counter here, just so.
Okay.
So yeah, tail dragger. So it does take a little bit longer the more models you get in there, just so you know. And there you go, okay. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna scroll down to model select, model type. This is where you can change if you need to, but you will reset everything, so just be aware. Model name, okay, so this is 128 for us, colon space, and then you can start typing. Now if you show them the box, it says Fun Scale PT-19 PNP, so plug and play. So it's a Hangar 9, so I'm gonna call this a PT-19. So we're just gonna scroll on the Legacy keyboard. You might have a different keyboard. I like the Legacy keyboard better, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we have the PT-19 Hangar 9 1435 millimeter, which is 56.5 inches. And we noticed something while we were doing this, because we did have to refer back to the manual because it doesn't actually say the size class on there. They call it the fun scale, which is kind of like a size class in the minds of Hangar 9. And so we looked up the specifications to verify that wing dimension. So you might actually hear this referred to as 1400 millimeters. But then down here you can see required for completion. Now we were talking about 6S earlier, but you can see this says 5000 4S. And I'm like, oh crap, what does that mean? So then if you flip to the next page, it says optional batteries for high power when using 12.6, and that's the 6S 4000 or the 6S 5000. And so if you look right here, we have a 12.6 prop, which of course is quite ugly compared to the wooden prop, and you'll note that it is quite a little bit smaller. So I'm torn now because yes, we actually do have both size class batteries, but I'm kind of thinking to myself that while I don't want this thing to go 2,000 miles an hour, I'm leaning toward I'd really like to fly it with the wood prop. However, look how much less ground clearance you're gonna have with a 14. You get a whole nother inch of ground clearance on both sides. So you're gonna save 12 inches means this is gonna be another inch down before you would actually be running it. Now I am lifting a significant amount of weight on this without a battery. Now once the battery goes in there, it's gonna provide a little bit more weight to balance this plane. But I'm still very much torn on, do I classify everything and mark the plane and get everything ready to go on 4S 5000? Or would I maybe consider the weight of a 4,000 milliamp hour 6S as my alternative? And then they might be similar sizes, okay? And that's still gonna generate a pretty good flight time. So this is a 6S 4000 Gen 2, which not that it would have to be a Gen 2, but then we have a 5,000 milliamp hour 4S here, and you'll note that they are very close to the same size, but they're still just 2 extra cells, and that's probably gonna translate to a big difference in weight, which means there's gonna be a big difference in position of the battery pack. And so for that reason, I wanna just indicate the difference in weight so you guys can be aware of this. You're probably wondering, well, why is this part of the radio setup, Brian? Well, because it is kind of a factor. Okay, so just weighing this battery. So the 6S is 579 grams. And the 4S 5000 is only 472. It's a pretty significant difference. So if you figure on 579 compared to 471, you're talking about a 20% difference. So 20% difference is significant, okay? So I think what we need to do is we need to kind of marry ourselves to one solution or the other. And I think for now we're gonna marry ourselves to the solution of using the 4S because I want to showcase it with the wooden prop, but just understanding that this plane is actually capable of doing 4 or 6S. I feel like some people are going to feel like it's weak. I'm guessing this plane is not weak on 4S or 6S. It's probably insane on 6S, and it's probably good on 4S. Now keep in mind they're requiring or recommending a different power plant for it because this prop is bigger and it's got more aggressive pitch, which is strange. That's an 8.5 of 14 and this is a 6.12, which means that it is less aggressive and smaller. Generally, to produce the same amount of thrust, you want to have a smaller with a little bit more aggressive pitch. But just keep in mind, the less aggressive pitch will give you low end performance to get out of the hole quicker, whereas the steeper pitch will tend to give you higher speed. So I'm guessing that the engineering going into this was that 4S is plenty capable for scale flying, but really what I want is I want this thing to look good in the air. So we're gonna lean toward 4S 5000 initially, and then we're gonna give you guys a crack at seeing both, okay? So as you can see, we don't have the receiver installed because we haven't actually generated the profile yet. We just named it. We got distracted by this because in naming it, we realized the size, and that brought us full circle to the two different sizes of props. So one thing I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna actually make a note about this. Inside of the bottom of the, okay, so 12 by 6 E prop, okay, equals 6S 5,000 or 4,000 milliamp hour. And just to be clear, that is milliamp hour, not milliamp hour. It is milli as in 1,000th, okay? And then the alternative is 14 by 8.5, and that's actually wood, okay? Wood prop. And that is going to call for a 4S 5,000 milliamp hour. Okay, so that's our two choices, and the CGs will be marked accordingly. So I'll probably at some point have a marking that indicates the position of the 4S and the position of the 6S. Now, there may be no reason to go with the 4,000 in our application because we happen to know that there's going to be a sizable difference in weight. And so my expectation is that we're probably going to use a 5,000 or a 5,000, because if there's a big enough difference in weight between the 4,000, you know, and it does okay, then I'm going to go with the larger battery for the longer life and just kind of throw caution to the wind. But it's probably going to ride a lot further back. All right, so now the next step for us, of course, is to go ahead and acknowledge this entry and hit back. Go to aircraft type. We're going to change the wing type to flaperon, and the tail is normal. Then we're going to scroll in here, change the image to something that's more appropriate for this plane. I'm not sure what that's going to be just quite yet. I don't feel like we found anything even close, have we?
Not really.
Okay, so let's go all the way to the left. Okay, we've got some quads in there. Oh, look at that. That's fancy. Well, I don't know.
One of those.
Probably the closest.
Yeah.
Okay, going back, now we're going to have an F mode set up. So now normally when we're doing rather simple setups, we don't need flight modes. But because we have SAFE and AS3X, so AS3X stands for Artificial 3-Axis Stabilization, which is stabilizer. It just helps to resist the impact of environmental impact on the plane. So like if the wind pushes the wing up, it's going to resist by giving some aileron input, even if you're not. But it's not going to level the plane when you let go of the sticks. Whereas SAFE, Sensor-Aided Flight Envelope, which rides on top of AS3X, will also add the benefit of leveling the plane and also preventing over pitch or over roll. So it will help you to keep from flipping the plane upside down. But if you do get yourself upside down, you can switch into SAFE and it will right the aircraft for you in flight. Very cool, without any stick input. Okay, so the flight mode setup, we're gonna go ahead and set one up, and just because we don't have retracts, we can either put SAFE AS3X here. We are gonna have flaps, so I'm gonna use B for that. It's a 3-position switch. And then this one is where we would land our AS3X versus SAFE. You'd have AS3X in this case, you'd have off, and then you'd have SAFE. So in this case, I'm gonna do a 2-position switch, so I'll have AS3X back here, because that's my neutral position, and then that'll be SAFE. Okay, so SAFE will be here, AS3X will be here. So I'm just gonna make an assignment to switch A. Okay, so you can see it's going between flight mode, flight 2. Now you can also go to next, and you can change some different positions. Now you can also have multiple matrix of flight modes, and the matrix could be something like this: 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6. Okay, so you can actually make a combination or a matrix. You can actually go in matrix 3 deep too, but that's more complicated for a different aircraft. Okay, spoken flight mode, this is where you would actually type in what you want if you want a name. Now, the only reason I care about this is because it's very nice when you're getting into a plane that you haven't flown for a while. You can jump in and it literally says what mode you're in on the screen, and flight modes do that. Normal switch callouts only change with an audio event when you switch the key or switch or press the button. So in this case, we're gonna go ahead and set that up right now so you can hit clear, clear, or escape, escape, and that'll clear everything. And then we're gonna type in, for this one, flight mode 1 is gonna be AS3X. So we'll pause while we're typing. Okay, so we have AS3X here, so we'll hit back. Now we need to make it speak something. And you'll see a scroll bar here. You gotta go ways down. Yes, of course, you can make custom menus, but we don't because we wanna show this from more or less a virgin state on the NX6.
8.
Did I go past it?
No, it's the NX8 though.
Oh,
Oh yeah, it's right after waypoint.
right after waypoint?
Well, goodbye.
Okay, so AS3X mode. Okay, so now we can test it. Then flight mode 2, I'm gonna set to safe. So we'll be right back after scrolling. So we've typed safe, hit back, and now we're gonna do the same for audio. Okay, is there a safe mode? So we'll, and then when we move the switch back, it'll go to AS3X mode and it will call that out live when you're in the main home screen. Okay, so we've got a call out there, and then channel assign. We know that we don't want switch B to attach to auxiliary B, or auxiliary 2 rather. We do want the right knob attached to auxiliary 3 because that'll be our master gain for us for AS3X, which is the gain establishing how much intensity we want with a stabilizer, but then AS3X will be one function and then safe will be the other function, but AS3X will also function when you're in safe, okay? Then you'll have this knob, and we want to get our gain multiplier set in addition to this so that when we're all said and done and we get it where we like it, it's about in the middle. And that way, when we go from plane to plane, we can make this adjustment stay. If that makes sense. So if I go from this plane to another plane with AS3X and safe equipped, that's not a plug and fly, excuse me, that's not a bind and fly, because bind and flies won't have that master gain. Then we don't have to constantly be worried if it's all the way up or all the way down, and then you have no stabilizer or too much stabilizer and you get oscillation on takeoff. That's not good. Okay, so this is not going to be B, so I'm just going to literally highlight that and inhibit it for now. And then we'll just go back and go back. Cool. Okay, so now one thing we want to do immediately is set up throttle cut, which should be the first thing on the list, but for whatever reason it's not. We want it pulled toward us. And then you can see down here as I move the throttle stick, nothing happens to the throttle unless I have throttle cut off. And then it goes up and it goes down and it goes up. Okay, so it's back on. Then we're gonna go down to flap system. We're gonna make an assignment to switch B, but we're not gonna set anything up yet because we need to still mechanically attach things. So we'll just leave that blank. And we'll set the speed to about 3 seconds here. We found that to be helpful on plug-in flies, okay? And then we're not gonna do any mixing beyond that. And the timer, we're just gonna set a 5-minute timer, even though it's probably not necessary since we have telemetry on this model. But what we'll do is we'll give ourselves that 1 minute, we'll do a voice. I've been doing that lately. And then at 10 seconds, we'll do a voice. It'll count down, and expirations, we tone and vibrate with a tone every minute thereafter. And we also do want it to be active so that when we go over, that's the one time, after we go over 25%, it activates and keeps running until such a time as we clear the timer with the cancel button or the back button. Cancel, not back, okay? Throttle cuts on. Now, the next thing we're gonna do is dual rates and expo. This is something I always set up. It's very basic in my estimation. Switch F, I wanna set it to 5. I wanna then set this to 10. And then I want to set this to 20. And then I want to set the rates on this mode down to 90. And you're like, well, but wait, how'd you come up with 5, 10, 20? Well, this is where we're starting. I've got an out if there's too much, that'll give me about half. And I've got an out if it's not enough, and that'll give me about double with even lower rates. So that's a bigger jump, but you want something to change if it's too touchy. But you're less likely to need less expo. Okay, so we're gonna be in the middle to start. And interestingly enough, we're going to copy that for all 3 of the control axes. And we've explained this many times. But the thing is, Expo is highly subjective. So please don't write me mean emails. Actually, don't write me emails unless you're doing business inquiries. But if you don't leave mean comments about it, because everybody has their own way of doing this. This is just a starting point. And everybody kind of should understand that by now by watching our videos. We understand people have different tastes. They like using different switches and they like doing things a little bit different, and that's perfect. But what you want to do is you want to start somewhere and have a basis for comparison. And then you can kind of build on what we've talked about here. You might find that you want to split these out so that they're on different switches. I've always found that to be too complicated and way too hard to do in practical reality.
And being consistent. Whatever you start with your switches.
Yep, that's where it's always set on every plane. This is for thrust reverse, which incidentally, I don't know if we're going to have enough channels to do thrust reverse, but what we'll do is we'll probably get the gains set. We'll set them and fix them, and then we can set up thrust reverse on another channel. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I think I am going to want thrust reverse on this plane, but we'll find out.
Okay.
So we may have to set the master gain, get it to where we think we want it, and then go ahead and get in and set up thrust reverse. Or just leave safe on and off, because we're going to have throttle, rudder, elevator, aileron 1, aileron 2, also known as flaperon 1, flaperon 2, master gain, AS3X safe. Am I?
Thrust reverse?
Thrust reverse. So I already have it. Do I? Yeah, because flaps are contained by aileron 1, aileron 2.
Next, there's no gear.
Yeah, because there's no retracts. That's the difference. Okay, so that means that what we can do is we can go to system setup, disconnect RF, and then we're going to go down to channel assign and just verify. aux2, yeah. So aux2 will be available, right?
I think so.
Because aux2 is aux2. It's not left aileron, and it's not right aileron.
Right.
Cool. Okay, so we should be able to use aux2, channel 7, which I believe is the default for thrust reverse. And we can set that to switch G. And we'll get that all set up. And it's possible this might not be activated on this plane, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to audio events, and I'm just going to go out on a limb and say generic reports, switch changes, add new sound event. Okay, so now I want to go with this, switch G. And we're going to have, actually, we're going to leave that silent for now, but we'll change that later. I want to verify that it works before we get too dug in. Okay, so throttle cuts on, throttle sticks down. AS3X is on, not safe, doesn't matter. See how that works? AS3X versus safe, okay. Now you could also have another flight mode for flaps here too, and then you could have different trims for each flap setting. So no flaps, takeoff flaps, landing flaps. You could actually have it say takeoff, landing. You could also have it say flaps, something, something. And you can also have it do recurring audio events when the switch is active. You can also set up your Vario to make noises. Boop, 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 boop. We're not going to use that on this plane.
Bummer.
Camera crew loves it when I do that. Okay, so now we also know where to plug things in, because if we go to monitor, which is scroll over once, you can see where everything plugs in, which is super fancy. Okay, now we know that this has to be mounted. We know that it has to be spatially aware, but there's really only 5 wires. This is about as simple as it gets. So throttle's on channel 1, not to be confused with bind. So channel 1 is the second set over. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, what the heck? How do I know which one's negative? Negative is black, not gray. How do I know which one's which? Look on the end here. It says S plus minus. S plus minus. So the second port over, plug it in, ready to rock. Then we can go to the next one, which is aileron B versus aileron A. What do we need first? Right aileron. So we'll just go ahead and whatever. We'll just take this one. This is A because it's not labeled. It's down on the other side of the wood. And signal needs to go up. So signal's up. That's the yellow cable. And then the red cable is power or plus voltage. And then the brown cable is brown for ground or negative. Okay. Then we want to plug this, what's next?
Elevator.
Elevator?
Next.
Okay, so we'll just grab elevator next. Paying mindful attention to what direction the yellow goes up. You may find that yours is white, red, and black. Signal would be white in that case. Black would be ground in that case. Okay, what's next? Rudder?
Rudder.
Okay. So we're just going through is a very simple process when you've got a simpler plane like this. Okay, so now this one's what?
Gear would be
So we have
5, so
gear.
then left aileron on 6.
Okay, so we're gonna skip, and then on 6, we're gonna plug this in. Now, just to be clear also, you don't have to plug in a port to control the thrust reverse. That gets passed through the serial communication channel that goes to the AV and ESC via the smart technology. So just be aware, that's already handled. So you don't have to dedicate a physical port, but you do have to dedicate a channel. And I think what's gonna happen is our channel 5 for gear is probably gonna be where our thrust reverse is. Because we don't, how did I miss that? I feel like I'm missing something. Throttle, rudder, elevator, aileron 1, aileron 2, that's flaps. Because there's 2 of them. Then we have safe on off, master gain, we're only up to 7, and then thrust reverse.
Yeah,
So that means that notwithstanding the fact that master gain is already set to auxiliary 3, then that means that gear technically does control. So what's auxiliary 2 doing?
Thrust reverse, channel 7.
That's what we talked about, but then what's gear doing?
Safe on off,
Oh, okay.
right?
So it just happens to have glommed onto channel 5, but whatever. We can come back to that if we need to change it.
Okay.
Okay, all right, good. So that's actually controlling the flight mode.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, right.
So you see this? And just because it says that, that's just a label, to be totally clear, folks. So the label that we have identified is not necessarily meaning that AS3X is on or not. It's just a label at this point. Now, we can either pull this or we can loosen it. I think we're gonna loosen it. I'm just gonna tuck these labels down into the bottom portion of the aircraft for potential later recovery should it become necessary. I'm just gonna do this here if I can get that stupid elevator one to go. Okay, great, nice. And then that can get stuck down with something. And there's not like a magical solution here, but I'm just gonna be honest with you. On a plane like this, you definitely wanna keep them away from your servos, but I am highly tempted to just drop them down in here. I have not ever had a problem with my antennas and the diversity antennas in particular. So if you're concerned, what I would suggest is taping one onto your side here, okay, which I guess we can do it that way to be on the safer side.
Okay.
So I'm gonna use some scissors and tape for this, just clear tape, nothing fancy. If you had masking tape, I'm sure it would be fine too, but I'm gonna just use the tape and just gonna tape the active portion of the antenna like this. One's gonna go laterally down the length of the plane. They never wanna stick, I've noticed. Okay, so I'm just taping this here, nothing fancy or special. And then this one here, we want to be taped that way. So it'd be 90 degrees of each other, or 90 degrees of each other, okay? Or 90 degrees of each other. It doesn't matter what direction they go, so long as they're 90 degrees of one another. And that's the important aspect in this regard. So you get the diversity from the antenna. And you're like, what does diversity mean? It means that you are picking up RF noise, which is a byproduct usually avoided, and it looks like it's actually gonna relax into that position, so we don't even need to tape it. Okay. And you know, I just don't think that's gonna be necessary either, but we'll go ahead and leave it anyway. And we do need to secure this somehow so that it can stay in position. Of course, some of you guys will think that this is a little bit of an overcomplication, and you would not be incorrect in your assessment. But then others will get all bent out of shape about such things, and that's fine. Everybody to all their own in that regard. So now what I need to do is I need to come up with a piece of Velcro or a piece of double-sided tape or something in that arena. Looks like we've got a bag of goodies in here with some double-sided tape and Velcro. Velcro's a nice solution if you expect to move the transmitter, or excuse me, move the receiver. You're not 100% married to the position. And so we're just gonna use double-sided tape. because I am pretty much married to that solution. I don't have a problem with it. I feel like it's gonna work great. And yes, we have quite a few of these because there's been over the years, there's been times when we've had installations that call out stabilizers and things like that, and we have used rolls of 3M double-sided tape. And so these come from, I believe, a competitive offering, but they work really nice because it does help isolate some of the vibration that you tend to experience, and they work pretty good for that. So I'm just gonna flip this over and stick that on the bottom. This is just a really strong double-sided tape, but it gives a little bit of isolation from the vibration. Of course, you do wanna be spatially aware, but you don't necessarily wanna translate 100% of your vibration into the receiver if it can be easily avoided without giving up spatial awareness. And that is sometimes a trade-off. So if it's a trade-off, keep the vibration, but don't give up your spatial awareness, because giving up spatial awareness is not acceptable, but giving up isolation from vibration is something that can be given up. You're gonna have to be over there probably, sorry. Okay, so I'm just gonna use this X-Acto knife. These things are sometimes challenging to separate, and this particular style is always a real pain in the neck to get separated, even when they're brand new, but this is not brand new. Okay, so we got the edge peeled up, and we're just gonna peel that back. So as you can see, sometimes these steps are a little bit tedious, and we might pause the video from time to time. That took us just another 30 seconds or so off camera. Now I want to get this so that I have plenty of room if I need to make a change later, but I want to keep it nice and tidy as well. So now tidy meaning I can press really hard and get it to stick. And then I'm just going to set that down. Now I don't think that's going to come up and interfere with our push rods at all. And if they do, it's just going to be an unfortunate reality that we have to face. I don't think it's going to happen though. Now you don't want to kink this stuff, so be very careful that you get it situated in such a way that you won't kink your lines, but honestly, there's no reason to believe with reasonable consideration that that's going to move. And so I'm happy with the way that it's sitting. If you want more security, you can tape a tube and then pass the lines through, but just keep in mind, the more crap you put in there, the more likely you will reduce the overall signal transfer. Generally speaking, you can get beyond line of sight with these transmitters. That's kind of the terminology they use, which means a long ways. Okay, so now the next step we have to do is come up with some way to secure the battery. Now they do give some instructions in this manual, which is unlike the last Hangar 9 we did. They didn't really give us good instructions on how to do that. So I'm really happy on this one because they gave us Velcro, and they suggest using Velcro to secure your battery. Now you could just secure a piece of Velcro on your battery, but I'm not a big fan of that. And then use these to actually hold it down. Let's show them the picture in the manual so they can see kind of what the suggestion was. The suggestion was, sorry. So the suggestion was that you use a Velcro strip kind of in this general vicinity. Now, the other option is if you have large straps, you can put straps through this board, and then those Velcro straps can just be like a permanent fixture within your aircraft. I kind of tend to like that because then you're hanging on to the wood rather than hanging on to a nothing. Or a piece of Velcro that just recently ripped off and flew through the side of your aircraft. And so my suggestion is that if you can, and if you have access to straps, like I happen to have this strap here, this is just pure happenstance, by the way. This strap is actually in good repair, and it might be big enough, but that's a question I have to answer next, okay? So if that's big enough, that might be a better use of our time than trying to lay that down. And then I can use shelf liner. Now, to pass this through sometimes is easier said than done. So I'm gonna be actually pretty frank with you. I don't know if it's gonna pass through, so we'll try. And you can see it wanting to poke through, and if we get really lucky, that'd be cool. So I'm just gonna try and see if I can get super lucky. And I'm gonna have a couple of tools here I grabbed, some screwdrivers and a pair of calipers, forceps rather, not calipers. We'll use those later. So just grab some of the hook and loop and pass it in, and we got it in. And then we can pull that through, which is perfect because that should hypothetically give us enough to then strap around the battery. But remember, you have to be strapped in through here. And then, oh crap, did I do that upside down? I totally did that upside down, folks. Don't do that. Don't be like me, do it the right way. So I'm gonna just give this a half turn. I'm gonna pass it down. Okay, then I'm gonna give this a half turn. You see how I've given that a half turn? Can you see it? Mm-hmm. You can?
Well, I could for a second there.
So that's a half turn. And then we're passing that back through. And then what do you know? I think we have it, yep. So now we can Velcro to ourselves. Pretty cool. Okay, now what are we gonna do instead of using these? We're gonna stick these in this bag for some other poor airplane that needs that. Okay, and we just keep these things into perpetuity for the next airplane because we're pack rats, as in me. Not the camera crew.
mean you. Yes.
She is not, I am. But I'm an organized pack rat.
That is true.
So when you see me on Hoarders, I'll be
It'll at
like,
least be
that
organized."
pile's important.
Yes, I know right where that junk is that I've never ever used in.
Whatever.
27
The minute you throw it
years.
away, you need it the next day.
That's why they have Walmart and Amazon.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and cut this. And we're just gonna cut a little bit of shelf liner. Doesn't need to be huge. Huge. Okay, so that is going to be able to rest in here. And that's gonna help us to arrest any sort of positional issues that we have with the batteries. Okay. And the way we usually do this is we will take something like this. And we would normally use foam to foam, but as you can see, our foam to foam is pretty much out. So I think I'm gonna use some mucilage. And mucilage will probably work pretty terrible on this. I wonder.
It's not gonna come out in the tube.
Watch this, guys. If you have mucilage and you can't get it to come out of the tube because it's too hard, you can heat this stuff up, but don't put the tube in the microwave. Put water in the microwave, warm it up, and then stick it in. And we're gonna do that right now and come right back. All right, so we use some hot water and we just actually put it in the microwave and warmed it up. So just be careful when you're pulling it out. And then this mucilage, which is a Hobby King product, it's pretty good and tacky stuff, but as you can see, it's a real pain in the neck to use when it's dried out or drying out like this. But then once you get it out, it should actually work pretty good to hold something like this because you just want that tackiness to it. And yes, it's called mucilage. And yes, I have blown up these tubes on my hands, which is a real pain in the neck. And yes, we have gotten these tubes where they have been dried out, brand new. And that's why we kind of switched over to mostly using foam to foam. So that's got a little bit of glue on there. So I'm just gonna actually take and just kind of move this stuff out of the way. And do the Velcro. And then just try to get that sort of pulled down so that I can lay this down right in the center. Because this is going onto a wood surface, so that mucilage is going to actually be kind of just depressed down a little bit, and that'll hold that in position. Now, you don't have to absolutely glue it, but we're at the point now where we pretty much have to put a battery in this thing so we can test. Now, obviously, because the nature of this glue, I just want to show you, if you ever get one that's dried out like that, and it's really hard, you can see now that I've capped it back off, this thing actually can be used. And this stuff it's not very expensive, but you don't want to have like multiple ounces of it left. Just warm up some hot water and you can use that to loosen the glue. So what I'm going to do is, just in case we need it again, yes, it's very hot because I ran it for about 3 minutes in the microwave after it came out of our tap, piping hot. But then it'll be ready when we're ready for it.
Would that glue have been appropriate for those wheel fairings if you didn't want to use hot glue?
No.
Okay.
85 millimeters back from the leading edge is the center of gravity. So we're going to mark that while we're kind of between steps, because there's not really like a super obvious time to mark it. There is not a range listed, it just says 85. So I'm just gonna mark it as 85 and make it nice and simple for myself. Okay, so marking 85, if you look, I pretty much put that at exactly 85. Holy cow, that's awesome. You know what?
Good enough?
Good enough.
Okay.
So our
sweet.
center of gravity is what we used those decals for, and it happens to be the edge of the wood. If you want to come over here and show the people what I'm pointing at. See how there's a void there? That is about the center of gravity right there. Okay, so not unsuspected, but I don't want to have to mark it, and so now that we have that sticker there, it ends up just working out really nicely. Okay, so then the next step is, of course, to get a battery, and we're going to be using our 4S battery, which has now been charged on our smart charger. And the thing that's kind of cool about a 4S battery is you can get this S155, which is considerably cheaper because that will keep up with a 4S. And it also has the larger IC5 as well as the IC3 built in. I used, in our case, the S1200 because I was using my S2200 to charge two 6Ss simultaneously. Now this is also a Gen 1. I don't know if they even have an offering of this exact size class in a Gen 2, which would eliminate the balance lead. But since this is a Smart ESC and Smart Receiver, it doesn't matter. You can do it either way. Okay, so cool. So now I've got enough lead to reach back to where the plug is, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the leads pointed this way. In just my initial attempts off camera, I put one single piece of tape to hold the ESC wire here, as you can see, so no big deal. Once you trade sides so they can see where I'm seeing. Okay, so I'm just gonna hold the wire up out of the way, drop the battery down into the cavity. Very simple. Feed this through. Now this, of course, was something we added. You may want to do the same. This is like a medium grade strap. Okay, so that worked pretty good. And of course, we're not actually flying this right now. We're just getting our final setup done. So I just wanna do some safety checks right now, and that just means having debris and loose items away in case this prop would start. It would be kind of a mess, and everybody sort of understands that when you get to this stage of the game, but you do have to ultimately bind the plane at some point. The safest thing to do, of course, is to not have the prop running and then visualize where the prop would be if it would take off and start running. I want to be able to hold the plane, worst case scenario, until the battery dies. That's never happened in my entire time doing this, but I want to be prepared because, like I said, two ways to get hurt in this hobby: lipos, which can create fire hazards if you're not careful with them, and then two, props. Generally, people don't hit themselves that often. It does happen, but it's rare. Okay, throttle cuts on, and when it happens, people don't get hurt that bad. Okay, so I am going to secure myself like this. I'm gonna make sure that I have a good place to grab, and I'm gonna be prepared. And you'll notice that my elbow is in the way, so I'm going to make sure that it's not until I have vetted the system, okay? First things first, plug in the power. Let everything initiate, control the plane. Remember, you're responsible for stupid things that happen because you did things stupid instead of leaving the prop off. Okay, so it hasn't initiated, that's good, that's what we want. Now, there's no flashing lights on there, but we're also not in bind mode. So what I'm gonna do is click and scroll down to bind, and I'm gonna be prepared. I'm gonna click this as soon as I press this button. Okay, so I pressed it, now it's in bind mode. I'm gonna press yes, scroll over to bind, and it's gonna start binding. DSMX, 22 milliseconds, controlling everything. Throttle cut is on. A lot just happened in a very short period. That's normal. Don't worry, you can do it. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna control the plane. I'm gonna test the throttle stick. The throttle stick does not make the throttle start. That's good, that's what we want because the throttle cuts on. Now the second thing I'm gonna do is get myself in an even better position to control the plane. I'm gonna get the prop hung over the end of the counter, and I'm gonna secure the plane. I'm gonna shut off the throttle cut, make sure it doesn't start. Didn't, good. Then I'm gonna start it. As you can see, it started. That's 7% throttle. Very good. That's 50% throttle, lots of power. Okay, throttle cut. Throttle cuts on, sticks down, everything's tested, timer's cleared. Okay, also, we can see the full telemetry suite now, which is really cool. Scroll over. There's our altitude, their voltage, RPMs, there's your voltage, 16.8. Pretty cool, pretty nice. And you see your voltages of each individual cell. Okay, pretty awesome. And the gains and things like this, which we're not gonna worry about. And the avian programming to get into the thrust reverse, which we're gonna get back to shortly. for the moment, we have throttle cut and we have no elevator or rudder set up. So I can see that's moving, and only by moving it left and right. And the elevator is also moving. Okay, perfect. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to get this thing flipped over so that we can go ahead and do the next step, which is to set up the mechanical connections. You can see our elevator, or excuse me, our aileron is here and it's up just a little bit. I'm going to just put this on. Now that we have vetted our throttle cut, I trust that I can be near the prop. Usually I want to trust the prop as little as possible until we have given it an opportunity at failing, and it doesn't. Okay, so that's down in there, and then I'm going to press this little button here, and that's going to allow that to drop, and everything's in place, as you can see. Very cool. Okay, so now roll left, roll right. That is the wrong way. So now I'm going to go in here, servo setup, and I'm going to switch the right aileron. Okay, so they're both going up, and the left aileron. Okay, so now that's rolling left, that's rolling right. Okay, perfect. We have that one is up too high, so we need to fix that. Camera crew, if you can help me remember, that'd be great.
Okay.
I'm gonna take the plane stand out. We did not use this earlier, but we're gonna use it right now just to make it easier. Okay. I'm gonna put a hand across the prop in case the thing starts. I'll be able to arrest the motion. It'll probably burn up the ESC if that happened. But just it'll be the most vulnerable I'll be during this build so far. Just don't trust it until you give it an opportunity to trust it, and it proves itself. Okay, so now we have the plane upside down. We've avoided the cowl to avoid damaging the cowl because the cowl is the weak part. Okay, now we also want to look at the ailerons while we're upside down. We don't have AS3X initiated, so that's a good time to do minor adjustments like this. We're going to slip this back. It's a little fuel tube. We're going to pop the control horn out. Then we're going to bring that in, threading it in just a few turns. Oh boy, there we go. There's half, there's 1.5. And we're going to snap that back on to the same position and see if we got it far enough. Nope, way not enough. I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's 7.5 half turns. And as you can see, we're approaching level here.
Better, yeah.
We're approaching level there. It looks like we have a little bit of down and a little bit up. So I'm gonna go a little bit further. 1, 2, 2 more. So that's 9.5. I'll just go 10 for good measure. And then look, smooth transition from this to that and there to there. Snap this back on. Now keep in mind, we don't have AS3X or SAFE initiated, which means we're not gonna have environmental impact causing the control surfaces to move, but only our sticks. So as you can see, we have movement, everything is free, we're not overbinding, which is really nice. We can also test flaps at this point, but we're not gonna do that because we're gonna get these two attached, okay? So obviously we have movement here. The camera crew and I will eventually flip sides, but for now, I wanna make sure that we have the correct direction of travel. So what I wanna do is, I'm just gonna, that would be correct, okay? So it's going the right direction. So now what I need to do is put that into the recommended hole. And if you look here on the manual, it says the rudder goes to the outside hole, okay? I generally like a little bit more throw on my rudder, but I'm gonna go by as per the manual's instructions. I'm gonna show you one trick because the control rod wants to spin, and so I have to arrest it somehow. And you can use needle nose pliers, but lineman pliers work better for this step. If you have lineman pliers, if you don't, needle nose will work. That way you can grab a larger surface. Be careful not to drop them. And then while bracing, you can now spin this. Kind of need that out of the way because I don't want to break it, but it is a strong one. Oh, goodness gracious. It just
really tight.
It wants to just kind of go back immediately. I don't like that. There we go. Now that's spinning. Oh, good Lord, good Lord, good Lord. Okay, so now we should be able to get it going because so we worked it a little bit. Very hard to turn this one. Ow, good Lordy, Lord. That thing is hard to turn. Okay, so we're just gonna test this now. So I wanna hold that roughly in the center. Ooh, that's really close. I think I need to go in a couple more turns. Now, how do you tell? You look at the center of mass and then you center the rudder and then you hold this right where it would be. So I need to pull it in just a little bit further still. I'm gonna use index finger in the center to control the alignment pliers. I'm gonna go out once I've got it secured, and then I'm gonna turn this in a couple more. There's 1/2. Oh my goodness. That is really hard to turn. Almost need to have a second set of pliers just to turn this dang thing. Which I don't like that. That's been one of the hardest things so far on this plane. But still, pretty easy plane compared to some we've done. Okay, so that's pretty stinking close to square. But it's not maybe perfectly square on both the landing gear and the rudder. And so what's gonna happen is that asymmetry is not gonna be good, so I'm actually gonna turn. Can you come over here and give them a shot of this, camera crew, please, so they don't have to wonder what we're doing? Show them the alignment. You guys see what we're looking at? Mm-hmm. We wanna see also that the wheel gets centered. And so in order to do that, I am going to try to brace this, and then I'm bracing this so I don't move anything else, but it's not working. So I'm gonna brace here instead. I'd like to brace here, get a little bigger bite, and then move this out. And it's just not a good angle, so I'm gonna hold here. Now I'm gonna bend this just a little bit more, and I think we got just a little bit we might have needed, because that is pretty square now with the length of the plane. Perfect. Then the other thing is, did we ever tighten these back down? I don't know that we did. I don't think we did. Nope, we didn't. So I'm gonna tighten them now. You remember that? We loosened those? Mm-hmm. We're just tightening them back down now. Nice and tight. That like really hurt my fingers tightening that thing. It's like all torn up now. Very strange. I have kind of a death grip, so it's unusual that that would hurt my fingers like that. Okay, so then we're gonna open this back up. Once we've opened it, get that pin free, put it in the outside-most control horn position, or the clevis position there. Control horn with the clevis. Okay, now we can move the rudder. Really good clearance, no problems. Mm-hmm. I feel like we need more though. Get lined up with the center of mass with the camera. Feels like it's going to this side more.
Just a little bit.
Just a hair. Son of a biscuit lover. I don't want to adjust this anymore. That's not very fun to do because it kind of like hurts. So I think what I'm going to do is something somewhat unusual. I am going to use a crescent wrench. A crescent wrench to actually see if I can bite onto there. That seems to be octagonal in shape. Yes, it appears to be octagonal. So I'm going to pull that down. I'm going to lift this up, slip it out. So I need to bring this in even more, which means I'm going to have to brace this again very hard. And then while I'm doing that, and try to turn this, except I need to be going this way because I'm essentially tightening it to put it in onto the shaft farther rather. Okay, so let's see if that turns. It's not going to be that easy. Okay, so guys, this worked a lot better actually. You can kind of see what I'm fighting. It's almost like this is protruding all the way through. And so I'm really having to work hard to tighten this at the very end of this stroke. Okay, so now that we have that most of the way through, now I can try to put this back in, and I'm not happy with that. You see how it's kind of kicked at an angle? We want it square. So I'm gonna hold with the other set of alignment pliers. Yes, I do have 2 sets of alignment pliers here, and I need to go just a little bit more. And we gotta be super close, folks. We gotta be super, super, super close. That was way easier with the alignment pliers. Okay, so now I'm gonna push down or up in this case. Slide that through, and then we'll check our movement on the rudder. Oh yeah, very good movement, super free, plenty of power. No issues there to speak of. Now we're gonna do the same exact thing on the rudder, excuse me, the elevator rather, and the elevator needs to be The elevator, could you come up here? The elevator needs to be here, which is the second hole from the inside. Okay, so the second hole from the inside. So I'm gonna hold this about where it needs to be. That's obviously pointed up too much. Oh, we need to check the travel direction too. So I'm gonna pull up to make the plane go up. It's backward. Sometimes reversing the difference, different direction will change the absolute position. So do that first if you can. Up and down. So that's gonna go up, that's gonna go down, okay? So I'm just looking at it from this side and I need to put that, oh yeah, it's gotta go in quite a bit, okay? Can you just stay right there? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna hold this real tight and I'm gonna walk this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. These things are hard to adjust. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You guys notice that I count and you're like, but you're not counting full turns, Brian. You're just counting some things. Yes, some things is exactly right. Okay, so that gets me super close to where I need to be. Now, how do I know? Because all I'm doing is lining up where this will pass through, and you can actually line it up and make it pass through just a tip. And then you come down here and sight down the elevator, and you can see if you get that right there. You can see it's definitely pointed up quite a bit. So I need to go in even more before that's gonna be appropriate. Otherwise, you're gonna have up elevator all the time, which is not a good thing. You don't really ever want the elevator to just be wandering and causing you to go up. You'll have to trim that out, and then guess what happens when you trim it out? You lose that throw from your control authority, and therefore it's a problem. Now you can also make this adjustment up on the servo at the front of the plane, but I always prefer to start here because it tends to be easy. It's not always easier, but sometimes it is a little bit easier. In fact, most of the time it's a lot easier. Okay, so now I'm gonna come back here, slide the tip in, and then just look at that. That is, oh, just ever so slightly up, right? Wouldn't you say? I would say I gotta go in another probably 1 to 2 turns, maybe. Okay, so there's half, okay, so I got 3/4, there's 1, almost 1. Okay, so let's go there. Let's see how that looks. And guys, the pickiness here will pay dividends. Oh yeah, that's pretty dang close. Do you guys see that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we'll just do the same exact thing. We'll just slip this fuel hose back and slide that clevis around the second hole from the inside. Now we'll check the throw. Elevator up, elevator down. Y'all left, y'all right. That is a very good fit. We have all the control surfaces now working, but not configured because we still have to do flaps. And then we'll get into the AS3X as soon as we're done with that. So at this point, we've got everything moving in the right direction, but we're gonna validate that again when we flip this over so that we know, and I'm just loving the way this thing is looking. Super, super happy with it. And so one of the biggest keys to success, especially if you're newer as a pilot, is to make sure that you get yourself oriented standing behind the plane and it's easier to see. Elevator up, elevator down, y'all, or roll left, roll right, y'all left, y'all right. Okay, cool. So now the next step we have to do is set up the flaps. Now these are full length flaperons. So we go into the flap system, and then we don't know which direction, so we're just gonna go one way. As you can see, they're going down. So I wanna clear that, and I wanna go here. They go down a little bit, so let's call that, let's call that 35. Okay, so there's our takeoff flaps, and then our landing flaps. This is gonna go, that's all the way, and honestly, I'm fine with that. Now we're just checking for overdriving. Full length flaperons are good. Now, if you wanted to have a speed setting, you could also make them go up. I'll just demonstrate here. I'm not gonna run them like this, but see how they go up? That'd be like a spoiler on. So I'll set that back to 0. And then I'm gonna set elevator correction to probably about, so you can see it's going downward. Now on an outboard aileron that's acting with flaperons, your elevator is going to need to actually go up for correction. But with a full length flap on a standard wing, it's generally gonna go down just like it would on an inboard flap, which is very confusing. I understand, trust me. Okay, so there, I'm gonna do a 5% correction. And then I'm gonna do I'm just gonna go a lot so you can see the difference. So that's a 35% correction, but we're gonna probably set that back to about 8. Okay, so we got 5 and then 8. Okay, so as you can see, everything works and nice, beautiful. That looks really good from this angle, doesn't it? So good, that black on the hood and on the cowl. All right, so now the last thing we need to do is do forward programming. So forward programming is where we set up AS3X and safe. We also then need to do thrust reverse, which we can do that now too. So why don't we do thrust reverse real quick just so it's set. Okay, now we don't do pilot fatigue on prop driven planes because we don't want you guys to get hurt. And so we're not gonna encourage you to use them. And to be honest, you don't really need them generally on prop driven planes. But pilot fatigue is where I generally use switch G, which is right here. And I would go thrust reverse controllable. Pilot fatigue meaning full throttle, no matter what the stick position is, less, notwithstanding, throttle cut being on. So if throttle cut is on, it doesn't do that. Problem is if you put it in that setting and you accidentally turn off throttle cut, full throttle, going backward, cut yourself very badly. So don't do that unless you really, really, really want to. And if you want to, look at one of our jet videos. EDF's a little safer that way, so we're not afraid of sharing that. Okay, so forward thrust is gonna be forward. My throttle cut is on. And so the first step we have to do is make an assignment on the ESC. So to do this, you scroll all the way over and it'll tell you the instructions, but you have to come from a Virgin reboot, okay, to do this. And then we will set up safe in AS3X. So first things first, throttle cuts on and tested because I'm gonna be in near proximity to this. I don't like having that so close. I'm looking at the menu, it says low throttle, up elevator, and left aileron. Is that correct? Yep. Okay, so that's our first step, and then there's a step 2. So we're gonna open up the cavity to get to the battery. Okay, I'm gonna lay this out of the way just in case the throttle would start. It shouldn't, but just in case. Now I'm gonna power it down and power it back up. Okay, powering it down. Powering it back up, it's already bound, remember? We're gonna just have our body safe, and then we're gonna go straight into let the boot. Okay, low throttle, up and left. After a couple seconds, that should switch to step 2. Okay, there's step 2. Okay, cool. So now you use your up to go up, and your down to go down. So brake is disabled, normal, proportional, and then reverse. Pretty cool. Brake force, there is a setting for this. I don't know what it is. I'm not gonna mess with it. It's probably like 7. Okay. You can change your BEC voltage, which is pretty cool. If you go higher, be aware you might burn out your servos, but you get faster response time. If you happen to need to rotate the direction of travel, you can do that here, but not to be confused with your throttle, your throttle reverse. Okay. And then thrust reverse is currently set to channel 7. Now channel 7 is where we set it because channel 7 happens to be auxiliary 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to exit with save, and then I'm going to use the right arrow to acknowledge. Now listen, it's booting, listen. Okay, throttle cuts on. Okay, I'm going to scroll all the way to the regular mode. I'm going to test my throttle cut. Throttle cut's on. I'm going to test it. Everything's safe. Now I'm going to shut off throttle cut. I'm going to test it again. And it's blowing toward us. Okay. Now I'm going to use the monitor over here to see what's happening. Nothing. We haven't made an assignment. Throttle cut is now on. Now that we have the assignment made for auxiliary 2, we need to now tie auxiliary 2 to a switch so that we can then command and control it at will on switch G in our case, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and put this all back together because the only reason we did all that was just to get the ESC assignments made for thrust reverse, and that's really all we had to do because we were already on auxiliary, or excuse me, on auxiliary 2 or channel 7, okay? Now you can go down to lower channels, and if you don't know how to do that, then all you do is highlight that particular value and then use your right arrow to change it. And it will scroll from like 5 to 9. There we go. That was giving me a really hard time that time. It's the first time that's happened. I don't know why. Maybe I've got my battery lead in a weird spot, okay? So first thing we need to do now is go click. We need to make an assignment. Okay, so an analog switch. We want to do a digital switch setting. We're going to select switch G, okay? And it says spoilers for some reason. I don't know why. And also what I want to do is click and scroll down to system setup, disconnect RF. I'm going to secure the plane with my hand just to be safe. And then I'm going to go to channel assign, and I'm going to make an assignment for auxiliary 2 to switch G. Like that. I'm going to walk out. Now I'm going to go to monitor mode and watch this. See that? Okay, now throttle cut's on. Throttle cut is off. We don't see any activity, which is good. We have forward thrust. The reason we know it's forward thrust, it's actually reverse thrust. See the box moving? Okay, now watch this. Now it goes forward thrust. Throttle cut's on, but you'll note that that's toward us. That's backward of what we want, okay? So we can also glean from that auxiliary 2 needs to be at minus 100 to be forward, and then plus 100 to go reverse. So we're gonna click and go down to digital switch setup. We are gonna select switch G. We want this switch setting to be minus 100, so that goes forward, meaning our forward thrust is going to be activated. So normal conventional fly mode, you want it at 100, and then I want plus 100 for a controllable reverse thrust, not pilot fatigue. Pilot fatigue would be where we would also mix in control such that it goes full throttle immediately. Okay, so this is gonna be the same exact setting. So basically forward thrust, reverse thrust, reverse thrust.
I'm at 15%.
Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna look, throttle cut's off. We have forward thrust, it's definitely blowing toward us. Reverse thrust, reverse thrust. Throttle cut's on, back to forward thrust. So we're done with that setting. So now the camera crew has just informed me that we're almost out of battery. Throttle cut's on, sticks down. Now we're gonna go into forward programming and set up AS3X and safe and show you how quick this can be. Gyro settings, first time setup. Make sure the model has been configured. All the wing types are done. Okay, everything's done. Any changes you have to do, something. Okay, so continue, set at level and press continue. Okay, set the model on its nose and then press continue. So obviously at this point you will have verified the throttle cut is working, but we're also in a menu where the throttle will not generally be called out. Don't trust it, trust yourself. Now I'm gonna hit continue. It's calculating the position, and that's the way that our receiver looks. Okay, so then we can hit continue. That's orientation number 5. And we're gonna set the plane back down because it's already spatially aware. It knows where it is and it's been defined. So now we're gonna go into the gain channel select, and we're gonna set it to right knob. So here you go, auxiliary 3, right knob. Apply. Wait for the reboot, secure the plane just in case. We have had on more than one occasion, exactly twice, we've had the throttle start, but only by a factor of maybe 1-2%. So basically started spinning very slow, or slow enough that it scared us to death, but it didn't actually do anything. Okay, so it's done rebooting. So you can go back into forward programming, you can go to gyro setting, and then you can go to the AS3X setup. This is where you would do your multiplier on the factor of this, okay? Also, you can change these values. I'm gonna leave them where they are, AS3X gains, and you'll notice that they are stuck at 40, 50. And really what I want is I want to walk out, and I want to walk out, and I want to go to system setup, and I want to go to gain channel select and make sure. Okay, so it's auxiliary 3. Okay. And then we can continue to first time safe setup, or we can go to flight mode setup. Okay, cool. So now it doesn't know what to do yet. So we're gonna select this, and then we're gonna tell it what's changing our flight mode. Switch gear, okay? So switch A, which is the gear, and that's the input for that gear. Okay, so now it says AS3X active, AS3X active. But don't mind the audio, that's just my labels. Okay, now we're gonna turn on safe. Okay, flight mode is already set. We're gonna confirm it, move on, and continue. So flight mode 3 is gonna be safe. So now I put it into that mode, and just all this stuff here, okay. Now this, look at this, watch guys. Level and capture attitude. Now hold on, I've leveled it, but then look what I'm gonna do. See that? It made a pitch adjustment, okay? Because I want it to be in safe, flying level, not like this, okay? All right, so now we're in safe with, safe is gonna be on with self-level and angle demand, that's auto leveling. And then these values we're just gonna leave. And then in this mode, AS3X only is gonna be on, but not safe. Okay, and then we're gonna apply this. Now we're gonna also secure the plane just to be safe. Wait for the reboot, takes a couple of seconds. You can listen for the dance and the second dance. That confirms that safe is active, but not necessarily on, and we'll show you how to do that next. Okay, so it's done, except for the fact that we wanna go to gyro settings, AS3X settings, and then you may need to change this, but for now, we're gonna go into gains, and we're gonna see that it says 40, 50, and 60, and you'll note that it's not changing, so we have to make an assignment for adjustable, fixed or adjustables right here. It says adjustable, okay? And you're like, but you already set that, I thought. Well, watch this. Nothing still, so it's not actually changing. In this mode, it's also not changing. So you're like, why is that not working? I don't know. So capture gyro gains. Okay, see how it's changing? Look at that, it's pretty cool, right? Nice, now it's all set. So now, listen, if you don't see enough movement to confirm that things are working, you need to set 1x to 2x or 4x. And if 1x is too much to get this back to your central-ish area after your maiden flight, you can set it to half an x or a quarter x, okay? That is a multiplier factor of that output. Okay, so throttle cuts on. AS3X should not be working. And it's not, because we haven't given throttle, so we're gonna do that now. Throttle cuts off, giving over 25% throttle for a fraction of a second. Now it should be working. Okay, so it's not working. And the reason it's not working is so we don't have it set up right yet. Safe mode is technically supposed to be on. And as you can see, it's trying to level the plane. Okay, bringing it to the level condition and then leveling out. Looking at the elevator, it's going up. Now it's level. Now it's going down. Okay, perfect. So safe is working, but AS3X isn't. We've seen this before. Throttle cuts still on. AS3X is on. Okay, throttle cuts back on, and I'm listening. It's working. It's just very quiet and hard to see, and I'll show you why. Because our gain is not all the way up. So the gain all the way up, we'll try again. Gonna be as quiet as I can so you guys can hear. Yep, it's moving the ailerons. So
Really quiet.
what I'm gonna do, it's just a very quiet response. So then we can go into the forward programming, and we can go to gyro settings, and then we can go to AS3X settings, and then we can go to this 1x and change it to 4x. Ugh, it's so annoying. That setting is annoying. Okay, now walk out and then test again. Now watch this, it's gonna be pretty excessive. Okay, rudder towards you, rudder toward me. Elevator up, elevator down. Aileron up, aileron down. Aileron up, aileron down. You have to test both because we have flaperons, okay? Now, full flaperons, just so you can really see they're down. Down means down, up means up. Down means down, up means up. toward the camera crew, toward me, up, down. I've looked at all the surfaces, whatever direction I move it, I want to see contrary input, contrary input, contrary, resisting input. That's because you are not flying that the AS3X is, okay? So throttle cuts on, and obviously the gain's all the way up. Now I'm just gonna move the rudder. Master gains at half, master gains at 0, okay? So everything is working. Now what I'm gonna do is throttle cuts on. I believe that's probably way too much gain, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back into forward programming. I'm gonna connect, I'm gonna scroll to gyro settings. Now that we've confirmed everything's working, we're gonna set this down to, we're just gonna go throw caution to the wind and set it to 1. Clear the timer. We have master control for gains. I have learned from my personal experience that depending on how fast a plane is, you generally end up at 1x, except for in extenuating circumstances like 3D planes. Then you might go to 2x, but generally it's 1x. So that's a good place to start. So guys, we have set up AS3X, we have set up safe, we've spatially located, we've made adjustments, the receiver. We have made adjustments for pitch because of the tail dragger setting, which means it's gonna fly like this in the air. We've also made assignments for safe and AS3X here. We've made flaps, we've made correction with elevator. We've done full length flaps, which are also known as flaperons. We've verified the direction of travel several different times. We have built the plane. We've done all the radio setup. We've done names. We've done audio events.
Safe mode, AS3X mode.
Okay, and we've set up thrust reverse. So this plane is totally set up and ready to rock and roll. If you like this type of content where we teach you things that you didn't know or things that you didn't know you needed to know, please, when you make a decision to buy it from our links. That's how you can support us financially. But if you don't want to buy this particular plane, but you like that plane or this plane or that plane or whatever, because we have done literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of planes, just check it out on brianphillipsrc.com, or you just go to the playlist and search for what you think you want, and it will more than likely pop up because we have thousands of videos to help you through this very process. And don't forget, if you get one of these and you download a profile, well, congratulations, you learn nothing. So my suggestion is you just learn to use this very expensive tool. And if it's not an NX8, if it's an NX6, or if it's a DX18, or a DX8E, or a DX6E, or whatever it is, or an IX14 or an IX20, we're here to help you as much as we can in our videos, but please do watch the videos before you ask the questions, because it's really hard for me to keep up otherwise, and I don't want you to be waiting around for my answers, unless of course you really do need some help. And we do not review every single item. We try our best. Also, we set up dual rates in Expo. I forgot about that too. So we're pretty much ready to fly this thing. I'm super excited. It looks gorgeous. We love reviewing stuff for Horizon Hobby. Of course, Hangar 9 is one of Horizon's brands, and we've been working with them for years, along with a variety of their direct competitors. So remember guys, when you come to Brian Phillips RC, even though we work with a variety of competitive brands, we really do like the ones we bring to you. And the reason we like them is because they let us tell the truth, and we do tell the truth. And yeah, not every plane is for everybody. Totally get it. This might not be your cup of tea, but I gotta tell you, it looks absolutely fantastic. And I hope it flies half as good as it looks, because if it does, it's gonna be a keeper. And that's why you come to Brian Phillips RC, because we're gonna show you the whole process. And if the thing sucks, we're gonna tell you that too. But I kind of doubt it, because this thing looks amazing.
Yeah.
And it's really well done. And that build was really easy.
It was great.
So guys, if you're looking for a good product that's gonna last and stand the test of time, this balsa wood aircraft will do it. So hopefully we're gonna get you guys 4S and 6S flights, but I can't promise anything yet since it is a little bit dark out there. So if you guys haven't already seen the maiden flights, they will be publishing 1 minute after this video publishes. And so we hope that you guys will have either already watched that or getting planned, getting time prepared to watch that as well. Because if you watch this long video, we hope you'll enjoy that. And definitely guys, don't forget to smash the like button. It really helps us with the algorithm. Long format videos are no friend of YouTube. I'm promising you this. If you ever start a YouTube channel, just do everything short and commercially, because otherwise you'll just get crushed. And that's what we've done for years. So guys, we really appreciate you. World's best audience. But definitely do smash the like button and click the bell for notifications if you're already subscribed. If you're not subscribed, definitely do that too, because that does help us to earn clout. with all the manufacturers, distributors, local hobby shops, family businesses, and things like that that we do support here on Brian Phillips RC, because really at the end of the day, we're all about stopping one and dones, getting people back into the hobby, and bringing new people to the hobby, one of the best hobbies in the world, which is flying fixed wing aircraft, helicopters, quads, and all sorts of flying things, of course, leaf blowers too. So don't forget we do that too on Brian Phillips RC, because we want you guys to know that life is not just about RC, sort of. Thanks for watching. Come back for more.